everyone, my name's Mr. Lee and we have Geoff here. We are gonna be reviewing some Eldrazi Commander Modern Horizon 3 cards. How you going, Geoff? How you going?
I'm doing great. The set is fantastic. It's got so much power coming out of it.
I'm pretty excited. That's awesome. So how about I'll let you have the show floor a little bit for. Give me a little background, a little bit about yourself. I'd love to know who are you and what do you represent, mate?
My name is Geoff. I am a Seattle-based area big mana player. Play it in every format that I possibly can. It's just fun to do those big things, cast those big creatures, slamming everything from Ulamogs on turn 4s in Modern and, dropping down, Emmercools and everything else in Legacy. Cloudpost just kind of scours everything. It's great. I love it. We're switched over back to mono green for Pioneer. If it's going to cast big things, we're going to do it.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I know that you've been a pretty big, Tron player in the past. You've played a lot of Modern. You've won a lot of tournaments, and this is why I'd love to get you on the stream today. We're going to be just talking about Eldrazi's. We're going to be talking about the applications in Modern, in Legacy, maybe Commander. But there's going to be a lot of fun cards in this set. And again, thank you. I appreciate you coming on for today.
It's my pleasure, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, excited. Yeah, and if you don't know, guys, my name's Mr. Lee. I am a streamer, YouTube content creator, and everything in between. I love my colorless cards. I love Chalice of the Void. I love casting big fatties and casting Ulamog and saying, cast trigger. That's me. All right, let's jump straight into it. Today we're going to go through the Modern Horizon 3 more Eldrazi specific cards, and then anything related to the Eldrazi decks, and then we're going to talk about some of the Commander cards after that. Let's rock and roll. First one, we have Break of Creations. It's a 8 mana. I can't count. Creature Eldrazi, 8/4. When you cast this spell, you gain 1 life for each color's permanent you control. Hexproof from each color, and Annihilator 2. So, Geoff, what do you think about this one?
I think it's a solid limited card. I doubt that it's going to see any play in any competitive constructed 60-card formats. It's just the mana cost for an 8/4, even with the Annihilator 2, it's too easily blocked out for less than what it's worth to cast 8 mana. I think just there's better things. I will note, though, that it does say gain 1 life for each colorless permanent you control, and lands are colorless.
Right. This did not occur to me, but yes. I agree. It's giving me a lot of Ulamog's Crusher vibes, right? Even though Ulamog's Crusher is common. And it has double waste, all right, which is a kind of a hard requirement. But if you're in limited, all right, you should have those colorless requirements. One thing it does note that is it's 8 mana, so it does work with Ugin's Labyrinth really well. Maybe potentially people can play it as a one-of in sideboards in certain decks, but I feel like there's got to be better options for life gaining. If you're gaining life, are you really playing Eldrazi?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't kind of fit with the rest of it. Like, Eldrazi are supposed to be big threats, and having the hexproof on the back end of it is great. Well, the from each color is great, but the gain life, like, you're not worried about gaining life because your life total doesn't matter. You're just going to smash through whatever they have. Yep. 100% of the time. That's the game plan.
So what do you put this? S, A, B, C, or D? Or construct?
I think we're gonna put this at possible sideboard card. We're gonna probably a pretty solid C.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I agree. I think a C is pretty good as well. Oh, we're jumping straight into it.
Okay. We're just coming out swinging. This is what we do, though. We're Eldrazi players. We just come out.
Unexpected. All right, go ahead, mate. What do you think of this one? Oh, actually, you can do the readout. You can do the readout.
Kozilek, the Broken Reality. It's a 9 mana 9/9 legendary creature. That's great. Fits right in with what we do. When you cast the spell, up to 2 target players each manifest 2 cards from their hand. For each card manifested this way, you draw a card. To manifest a card, put it onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature. Turn it face up at any time for its mana cost if it's a creature card. And then other colorless creatures you control get +3/+2. I think this one, even though it's got a high price point, I think it's going to level off, but it's going to be relatively good. I think you have enough other support to go wide enough, and essentially double thought seizing your opponent if they get low on cards is great because it's not a choice, it's a force.
Right.
You have to, so they get 2 2/2s, but their 2/2s could have been something much worse for you.
Right, and I agree. I think, like, you get to choose to him your opponent and give them two 2/2s, which is nothing for Eldrazi. You're getting a 9/9, right? Hopefully for a result. And then I agree. I'm actually pretty high. I feel like people are low-key not even realizing how amazing this card is. You get a 9/9, you pump all your creatures to 3/2, an extra 3/2, and it's 9 mana, not 10, right? So if you're thinking like Tron kind of vibes, right? 7, like you can go 3 lands for 7, and then you play another Tron land. It's already this, right? You can technically have 4 lands and play this, right? And then your 2/2s, if you target yourself, you get to him yourself for 2 cards, right? They become 5/4s, right?
Yeah, they become 5/4s. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can even, like, at worst point, you can choose yourself, you cast this card, lose 2 cards. If it resolves, you have how much? That's like 10 plus 9. You have 19 power for 1 card, right?
Yeah, versus the 4 power that they're going to put on board.
Which is ridiculous.
And you get but you also get to draw 4 cards.
Right.
Because for each creature that gets manifested, you get a draw card.
I'm really high on this card. Like, I'm gonna give this a rating. I'm thinking this card is potentially it's an A, between A or S. Like, I think it's in between there. So I'm gonna say,
yeah, I think your 9 and 10 slots are going to be really, really tough to beat each other out. And Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, that's just one of those cards that is just S tier every time it hits the board. Like, you put it in your deck, if it's castable in your deck, it's an S tier card. This, I think, is going to be fighting for the spot, but I think it's just like a half a point lower.
I agree. Ulamog has always been the guaranteed all-class card. Obviously, we don't count Emrakul, the Aeon's Taunt. She's 15 mana. But yes, in the 9 to 10, it's very hard to think of some sort of, right? We have payoffs these days that are amazing, all this stuff, and this does compete. But I must say, for other formats like 7-point Canadian Highlander, like where you can play a one-off, like they favor cards where the card has to just like scream value, and I feel like this card screams value.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's going to be breaking in every game it gets down. In those formats, it's going to be breaking.
All right, so I'm going to put this in an A, because I think there's more broken cards at S, but I'm going to put this as an A. What do you rate it?
Yeah, I'm good with an A. I think an A is exactly where it's going to be.
All right, next card. Kozilek's Command. Kindred Instant Eldrazi for X and 2 waste. Choose 2.
It's a trap.
Choose 2. Target player creates X 01 colorless Eldrazi spawn creatures that don't only have 0 power. Target player can scry X, then draw a card. X target creature with mana value X or less, and exile up to X target cards from graveyards. Now, one thing I want to note about this is that you can cast this off Eldrazi Temple, right? And you can also just cast it for X equals 0 and draw a card, right? And then all the other mode. And then you can scale it. I think that's what they were trying. You can scale this and go really big if you have Tron ready, if you have a bunch of Cloudpost mana ready. You can just get a bunch of blockers, a bunch of ramp, or whatever. It's a command which always has to be like second looked a lot, because some commands are good, some are I'm in between with this. I know that a lot of people in the community are like, oh, it's really bad, and some people are like, oh, I think it has potential. I'm gonna say B, just because I feel like it has potential.
I think at a B is probably pretty solid. I think there's ways to play this card effectively. But I think in the current lists that we have out, I just don't see, like, I mean, if you cast it for 0, right? Draw a card. So 2 mana instant draw a card.
Yeah.
Like, Warping Wail is just better in that slot, right? Because it's a kill spell. It's a counter spell. It can make, your ramp. So you're opening up your mana on the next turn. But if you start getting into the 3, 4, 5, X equals 6, it's like, do you want to be playing this, or do you want to be playing what this replaced?
Right.
And I think that's where it's going to really possibly a sideboard card to exile some stuff. But unless you're going to be casting for X equals 0 and you just want to draw a card and exile a Dryad Arbor, then that's about the best I think you're going to get out of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about the ceiling here, right? Like, I kind of wish it was like, I mean, I think draw X cards, but like, I kind of wish it was just exile target graveyard, right? Rather than X target cards in graveyard. And then, I know, they're trying to go really hard with that whole X thing. And then also giving O1s, right? Like, I feel like it could have been given a little bit more.
Yeah, it could have definitely been a little bit better. I every time I look at this card, the word scries, how they spell it, always catches me up. Because I always think it's supposed to be SCRYS.
Right.
And it's always... I think this is the only card in Magic that has it spelled that way.
Right. Okay. I'm willing to also downgrade this to C, just because of our discussion. Target player cries. Chat says target player cries. But I can downgrade this to a C, or maybe you could keep it in a B and maybe downgrade. All right. Next card.
Okay, so Eldrazi Linebreaker. So one, a colorless and a red, devoid. So it fits, well with any of the colorless mechanical cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a 3/3 trampler. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gains haste and gets +X+O until end of turn, where X is the number of Eldrazi you control.
Mm-hmm.
So a go wide strategy for me is not what Eldrazi is going to do. So I think you're probably going to get at best, X equals 3 or X equals 4. But I think the key part about it is X doesn't matter,
It
right?
doesn't matter.
It's
No.
just
It's power.
it's the fact that you get an Eldrazi on board and you give it haste.
Yeah, I keep hearing.
And I think that's where it's going to shine.
I'm hearing a lot of a lot of people playing during the pre-release, right? The sealed events, that this card is like really insane. Like people are like, oh, in a limited environment, this card just keeps delivering because it's trample, it's really big. You don't really have answers consistently in limited. So I would say and people have always said Modern Horizon sealed or limited is really fun because you have a lot of powerful cards doing. I don't know about constructed play for me, but I can see potentially where you can be like, oh, I want to give my Thought Not Seal, my Reality Smasher, probably more Thought Not Seal. I'm gonna give it an extra, 3 powers.
I always think that Green Rattle Eldrazi is just waiting in the wings for cards like this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like it fell out of contention a while back, a couple of years ago, and cards like this can just really bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you need lethal on board, you could drop a Thought Not Seer. All of a sudden, it's a 6/4 that just Thought Sees your opponent, and it has haste.
True. Yeah.
Just adding more Reality Smashers.
It's kind of awkward that it does say the number of Eldrazi you control, which Eldrazi does go wide, but not that much, right? They have big creatures. They don't go wide.
Yeah, and I think it was more to support your Eldrazi Scion mechanic, where you just have a bunch of Scions, and then
sense.
You're able to do that. But your competitive 60 card formats don't play the Scion game.
Yep.
They have access to powerful lands where they don't need that kind of ramp.
Right. Which I can see in Commander, this is actually really fun, right? Because you're just going to be dirtling for a bunch of turns and...
Oh, it's just be insane in Commander.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'm going to put this down as a C.
I think C is exactly where it needs to be. I think there needs to be a couple more cards for any red variant of Eldrazi to be really, really spoken for as its own deck in the format right now, at least for Modern.
Bring back Stirrings in Eldrazi. oh, there we go. Null Elemental Blast. For choose one, counter target multicolor spell and destroy target multicolored permanent. Geoff, I'm very high on this card.
Absolutely.
I hate multicolor. Omnath is the death of me, right? When Omnath Locus of Creation comes into play in a lot of formats, as an Eldrazi player, I'm just like, this card, I just can't stop it. They're ramping better than me. They have gaining life. This card is also a good addition to Modern. I love the blasts coming to Modern. I have been wishing blue and red Elemental Blast could come to Modern forever, but I love that this exists.
I'm telling you, this card says nothing else but target or kill Renin 6.
Oh yes, you're right.
That's all it says.
That's actually
it says either counter it or kill Renin 6.
On the draw.
Because the Renin 6 land lock hurts when you're playing big mana decks, and this just solves it. You don't have you can't play Bolt or anything else to try and get around that Renin 6. And once they start ticking up and getting back something like Beseju, terrible, right? This just solves the problem. I think this is going to be an instant addition to most of the sideboards when you're playing against things like the red green Kavu in Modern for the 5-color domain deck.
Yeah,
it just kills it. You don't have to take 5 damage on turn. Yep, and the ley line. Yeah, I mean it wrecks so much stuff right now. I think this is a perfect card for Modern to come into.
Wow. Actually, no, because you're right, because when people when you're playing on curve, right, you want to play Renin 6 and you probably want to get it right. You're most likely not bringing back a Beseju that you wouldn't activate Beseju, right? You play a red to get back Beseju later. So this actually works out perfectly, because if you're on the draw, you only have one colorless open, you just kill the Ren with the trigger on this, and then Ren is dead, and they've got, and it never occurred to me about how annoying Ren is, because I guess I play more Legacy, and you play more Modern, so we've got both angles here.
Yeah. It says destroy Renin 6, and it's great because if they have 2 lands and a Renin 6, in our matchups, they know we're not putting any pressure on them, and so they'll keep something where they have 2 lands, or, like a land and a Ragavan, and they're hoping to be able to get down Ren on turn 2 so they can get back their fetch land. Well, if Ren never lands, I think you're going to fall ahead of that game most of the time.
That's true. That's true. Actually, you just counter the Ren on the stack. You don't even have to wait
Yep.
until it activates. But
It
it's
counters
great.
it. It counters it, or you're able to destroy it when it's already on the battlefield. I think this card is phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm excited. And it also just occurred to me, like I made this brew on my deck that on my phone where if you play Painter Servant in a spicy brew, you play Painter Servant and name the opposite color that the opponent is playing, you can just no elemental blast everything.
Wow, that's so good. That's so good.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, bring back Painter Servant.
Painter Servant in Modern, it's legal, folks. And you play Ugin, you just like name black and you just exile everything. And yeah, that's my brew.
That's one of the fun things I had done a while back was I played Painter Servant when I was playing a full play set of Ugin the Spirit Dragon.
Yeah.
So you just name whatever it is, and then you just get to wipe the whole board and leave the Ugin because it kills all the lands too.
Okay, so rating wise, I'm gonna say this is an A. I don't think it can be an S because of contextual of where it needs, right? It can't be.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be putting them in the sideboard most of the time and bringing them into the matches that matter where they're going to be your silver bullet card.
Yep.
A is 100%.
Cool.
As high on A as you could possibly be, but yeah.
Yep. Yeah, pretty high on A. Oh, yeah. Okay. Go ahead, man. You can read this one out.
Ooh, Ghost Fire Slice. So we got a 2 and a red uncommon instant. The spell costs 2 less to cast, and if an opponent controls a multicolored permanent, Ghost Fire Slice deals 4 damage to any target. Good limited card. I don't see. I mean, Eldrazi doesn't burn opponents. We run them over like steamrollers, right? So I don't think that even playing essentially, a 1 mana, yeah, just even at 1 mana, I don't think like it's got a requisite of multicolored permanent, and some decks, half your decks aren't going to be playing multicolored permanents. I think this one's good for limited. I think it's a miss on anything else.
Yeah, I just saw this card because I play red Eldrazi in my Highlander, my Highlander format, right? In my 7-point format, because we need red for like Lightning Bolt and Braid and stuff. But yeah, you're right. This is a limited card. I don't think it's great. It could has potential, maybe, but in limited, it's kind of nice. It's like any target. You just like 3 mana. It's a C, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's straight into the D pile.
Yeah, I agree. Null Drifter, 7
this
mana.
One's on you.
Null Drifter, 7 mana Eldrazi Elemental, which is hilarious. It's an elemental because Null Drifter. When you cast this spell, draw 2 cards. Flying, Annihilator 1. It didn't need Annihilator 1. It has it. And then Evoke. Blue and 2 colorless. You can cast this for its evoke spell, and then it's a 4/4, mind you, not a 2/2. I love this card. It also comes in retro frame, if you didn't know. I love this card. The fact that it just draws 2 cards on cast. It's a 4/4 flyer, right? I don't know if you're ephemerating this because you don't really care. You don't get the cards again. But I think this is a nice flavor win. Not sure if it's going to see constructed play, maybe, like in some kind of brews. But I would, my feelings around this is maybe a fun low B. Maybe even a C. Probably even a C. But like, this is just a fun flavor card.
I think it is. I think we're getting we're getting kind of overloaded on draw cards, and as far as draw cards and our style of decks and your big mana decks, nothing beats the 1 ring, right? Like this could draw 2 cards. I'd still rather have a 1 ring.
Yep.
I'd still rather draw 3 cards over 2 turns than draw 2 cards on this. I think it is a fun card. It might see some play as a one of in something like Blue Tron. I don't think it's going to be seeing play sets, but you can put it under Ugin's Labyrinth. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
it is a good thing to go, I'm out of cards in hand and I have this under Ugin's Labyrinth. Like, let's just bring this back and cast this thing, draw 2 cards.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I can put this in maybe. I don't think it belongs in like D.
No, because I don't think it's strictly, like a limited card.
Yep.
Or I don't think that it's a bad card. I think that it's a fun card, and I think that you're gonna have to find a slot to put it in, but I think it'd be useful in the C slot, yeah.
It's not a Ghostfire.
No.
3 mana Ghostfire. All right. I'll take this one. Skittering Precursor. I can't say that. Precursor. Skittering Precursor. I don't know why I stumbled on that. It's red and 2 colorless. Eldrazi Drone, Devoid, and Menace. That's a lot of words. When you sacrifice a non-token permanent, create A 0/1 colorless Eldrazi Spawn with sack for colorless. 3/3 for 3. Take this one. I don't know how I'm feeling on this one.
I think it's a good limited card. I think, you have the ability to build some of these good like red, black sack decks in limited, and I think this fits well in there. But you're not sacking your permanents in 60 card constructed. Like you're not. It might be a good supplemental card for commander.
Yep.
But I don't think, I mean, we are very permanent light when it comes to the style of deck that we play with big mana.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't think sacrificing permanents is going to be on our game plan pretty much, whatever version of the decks that you build.
Yeah.
So I'd put this, I mean, I'd put this in the low C's, high D's, just because it's going to be.
It's a fun D. I think it's a fun D. It interacts with fetches, kind of, right? You get to make a blocker. It's on curve. That's all I can say. It's on curve. Thanks for making filling the voids in limited. Pretty much. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's a 3/3 for 3 with menace. I mean, it's upside, right?
Yeah. In limited, it's fun. I'm gonna say it's a fun D. It's a fun. Do you want to take this one? Or I'll take this.
Sure, I'll take it. So Twisted Riddle Keeper, 8 mana for a 5/5. Eldrazi Sphinx, which I don't think is a creature type that we've seen before,
Never
right?
seen this card before in my life.
No, I mean, we're just throwing other types in with Eldrazi. Yeah, it's great. They're taking over everything.
Yep.
It's an emerge creature, which emerge creatures are always good to a certain point. So you can emerge for 5, a colorless and a blue, which will get reduced if you choose to emerge it and sacrifice another creature. It'll reduce it by that mana cost.
Mm-hmm.
When you cast this spell, tap up to 2 target permanents, put a stun counter on each of them. So the stun counters just say they don't untap during their own tap phase, and then the stun counters go away. And it's a flyer too, which actually is a bonus. I think you can get. So if you did something along the lines of what was the 3 mana
the Hippogriff one?
The 3 mana 3/2. No, the 3 mana 3/2.
Oh, the one that gives like toughness 1 or gives extra toughness, right? It used to be it was played.
No, the one in the old list, the one that if it dies, you would like flip the top card of your library, and if it
Mana
was
Reshaper?
mana reshaper. So I could see like going from a mana reshaper into this, and then just like stunning down 2 of their lands.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah,
to just tap down. I mean, it might be valuable again in the mono blue list. If you're going like mono blue Eldrazi, this might be pretty good. It does trigger a lot of other stuff at that 7 mana value. And it's a 5/5 flyer, which you don't get a whole lot of beefy flying Eldrazi.
Yeah, I know. You don't. Yeah, exactly. You don't really see good flyers. Like, I mean, these days people are casting Murktide for 2 mana. Right, and that comes out as like a 6 or a 7/7 or something. Maybe like pretty high, right, or 8/8 sometimes. But yeah,
it can come out as an 8/8. I think you're usually at like a 5/5 or a 6/6 with the counters.
I think the merge saves the whole card. If it didn't have a merge, it's just a potential limited card if you're playing. I think this is a fun C for me. The stun counters is a nice touch because you stun them, and then by the time you can stop some blockers, you can play it pre-combat to make your other creatures attack. Like, it has some sort of utility there. It's fun. I don't think it's constructible play.
I think we're going to be surprised with this one. I would like to hope that we were surprised by this one, because if you go a 3 mana, and that's what, 7, so 3 mana, which means you're casting this on turn 4 and affecting the board state for multiple turns.
Yep.
I think as a 5/5 flyer, that's great, right? Because then you get in. You can cut their mana base in half for 2 turns, and you get to get in for 10 damage.
Target permanents. Okay, I thought it was. Okay, that's pretty smart. Okay, I get you now. Yeah,
I think we're looking at a B at the least. I think we're looking at a B.
Okay, yeah, like a low end B. I would.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. Yep. All right, cool. Spawn Gang Commander. This is obviously a throwback to Siege Gang Commander. 3 and 2 red. Creature Eldrazi Goblin, which is a void. When you cast this spell, create 3 0/1 Eldrazi spawns. And for 2 colorless, basically waste and 1. Sacrifice the Eldrazi Spawn Gang to deal 2 damage to any. But you have to pay mana for. This is just a hilarious flavor win. This actually feels really good in limited. I would imagine, because they're 0/1s, they're not 1/1s, but you get to deal 2 damage to anything. And like if you cast this for 5, you can curve out to 6, and then you can just throw 3 of your creatures for 6 damage, right?
Yeah, like if you decided to go Naya and you played Kudo, right? Make everything a 2/2, and then you just get to start shooting down the board.
Right. And it's devoid, which, all the Eldrazi are devoid, but it's relevant for certain decks, I guess. But, this is a fun card. I just say this is a flavor win for me, but it's just, it's hilarious. I put this down as it's like a strong D. Maybe a
strong D. My biggest upset about this card is it does not have any flavor text on it. This card should be one of the ones that they're just pushing flavor text on it, because you have the ability to put goblin flavor text on an Eldrazi card.
Right. I mean, the artwork's beautiful.
And that's just,
I love it.
The art's great. Like I'm really happy with the art that's come out of this set too.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think this is a strong D. Maybe it could be like pickable in limited. I think like you could pick this and go like, I have nothing else but it's at the end of the day, it's also 2/2.
At worst, it makes 4 bodies, right? Because you cast it makes 3, and then you make 4 bodies, and you're threatening 6 damage.
I do love that it says sacrifice, not just an Eldrazi spawn. It just says any. So you could like,
that is true.
You could just like throw your Eldrazi at something.
Yeah, any enchantment lockdown with any of these Eldrazi, you just toss it. Just go, okay, like shoot you for 2. It does. I mean, if you're able to like draft into any type of red X Eldrazi list, I think this one's gonna be great for limited. Outside of that, I don't see. I mean, it's gonna be great for the Eldrazi EDH players.
Yeah.
Ooh, Void Pouncer. All right, what do we got? A common at 1 and a red. It's a 3/1, so we're already looking at upside. Devoid, it's got a kicker cost of a 2 and a colorless. If it was kicked, it enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters and a trample counter on it with haste.
What? It has haste as well?
Yeah. So you're looking at a 5/3 trample haste for 5 mana.
Kind of like a smash.
I mean, it's it's an Eldrazi's version of Ball Lightning. Like, let's just go, right? Like, I think it's going to be good. Again, it's a limited card. Like that's. For the commons, we're going to be looking at a lot of these limited cards. And I think it's a good limited card if you're playing an aggressive deck, because it's surprisingly easy to get that colorless requisite because you have the common fetch lands.
Right. Yep. Yeah, they're amazing, by the way. I think that they can tap for colorless and then grab a land. Yeah. I agree. This kind of, to me, this feels like I know there's already maybe a common or an uncommon in that slot that kind of feels like a Reality Smasher. I think there's another Eldrazi that's similar to that. But this is a common. This could have potential in Pauper. Like, I don't know. Pauper might be broken. I don't know. But, like, it's a common. It's going to appear way more limited in general as well. So you can sometimes just get a 5 mana hasty 5/3, right?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I mean, that's a solid card if you're looking at a 5 mana 5/3 haster with trample.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
For constructed play though, because this stream is this video is for constructed. It's a strong D. I think it's a strong D.
Yeah.
Maybe a low end C if you really need a card.
Immediately I thought, hey, like if you're just able to play 4 more Eldrazi smashers in green red Eldrazi, it might be good.
Yeah, true. It might be good. And, it also has the upside of just being a 3/1. Feeling like you got the mana, you just play a 3/1 for 2 mana.
Yeah, play a 3/1 for 2 mana. That's fine. I mean, the mana cost, should be pretty easily accessible in any of your constructed format decks. I mean, that's, because you're built that way. So, yeah. Oh, broken.
Oh,
absolutely
okay.
Broken.
Yeah, a lot of people. Okay, I've been hearing combo potential of this. Basically, Brood Scale, 1 and agree. Creature Eldrazi Lizard, that's hilarious. Devoid, it graded 1, adapt 1. If this creature has no +1/+1 counters on it, you can put a 1/+1 counter on it. When 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on Basking Brood Scale, you may create an 0/1 Eldrazi spawn creature token with sacrifice.
It's broken. It's a 2-card combo with some of the equipments that are out there.
Tell me the equipment.
Oh man, you're gonna make me look up cards. I think there's a 1 mana.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there was. I think there's a 1 mana artifact equipment that says when another creature dies, you put a 1/1 counter on this.
Wow.
And every time you put a 1/1 counter, you make the Eldrazi spawn. And technically, from my understanding, and I'm like 99% on this, is your tokens do hit the graveyard.
Wow. Okay. So you're talking about like death triggers, right?
Yeah, so death trigger. So it just makes it infinitely large because you just keep sacking the Eldrazi Scion token, and then it just makes it infinitely large.
Chat says Tarian Soul Cleaver is a
That's
1
the
mana,
one.
That's the 1 mana equipment. Okay. So yeah, because we were talking about this on Friday. And how are you paying this off? Like, how are you trying to use another creature to ping them to death? Like, you making these? How's the combo work?
No, you just equip Soul Cleaver onto Basking Broodscale.
Yep.
And then sack the Scion token.
Yep.
It puts a counter on the Brood Scale, making another Scion token.
Oh, right. So you get unlimited mana.
So you can have unlimited mana, plus you just make this thing as big as you want.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. I can see the potential here.
Oh, it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be a popper build around. I can't imagine, just because of the fact that it's a 2/2 in Modern and Legacy, where it would stick around the board. But in Pauper, yeah, I mean, you slam that, and then you can slam any of the other go wide strategies with Eldrazi, and it just gets so huge. Like, you can.
Yeah, I get you. And like, if you want to go on the whole like, I'm running a combo with this card, is also fetching 1 mana artifacts, and like the Soul Cleaver is 1 mana, right? It's a 1 mana legendary artifact, so that also helps the ability to get your combo pieces if you okay. Since I'm gonna try to rate this blindly without knowing too much potential of its roof here, all right, of its ceiling, but I think potentially this probably could be I'm gonna upgrade this to a C, not a B, only because it has combo potential, but it's just a 2/2.
It's a 2/2 for 2, but it does have mana reduction, essentially, right? Because you can pay pretty much 1 green and make it a 3/3.
Right. True. Okay, yeah, that could make it better.
So I do think, I mean, your combos, you're gonna have better toolbox combos in Modern and Legacy. But this could break out. I'm gonna put this at a B, because if it does break out, it's gonna break out in a big way.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, and you're right, because on curve you can be like 2 mana 2/2, and then it becomes a 3/3, and that's it. You just like leave it there, right? Yeah, that's fair. Because like the activation cost is not even more. You also get a mana back, kind of, with the Scion, so you can like play it, activate it. You play your 3rd land, and I can see that. Yeah, okay, I can see that. the cards it brings up on this is hilarious. Ulamog the Defiler, 10 mana legendary creature Eldrazi. When you cast this spell, target opponent exiles half their library rounded up. Ward, sacrifice 2 permanents. That's hilarious if you like give it hexproof. Or what's that instant that gives a creature protection for like creatures that are really big? The Eldrazi instant, not of this world, right?
Oh yeah.
Imagine like targeting this like with the swords, and you're like, not of this world, and they're like trying to target again. They have to sack 4 permanents. Ulamog the Defiler enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the greatest mana value among cards in exile. Ulamog has Annihilator X, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters. Alright, so people have been saying this card is not as good as Ceaseless Hunger. If you are in singleton formats, this is a good alternative to Ceaseless Hunger, because it just does a lot of things. There is so much text on this card. The artwork is kind of like AI-ish, but this is Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger as if it was designed with fire. Like, Ceaseless Hunger feels like it's right, like it's a good card, but then this is just like, hey, I've just gone ahead and slotted this through AI and like made all these texts, and it came out like this.
I mean, we can break this card down all day, but I do think it's overhyped. I think that more than half of the power of the Ceaseless Hunger compared to this in the 10 slot in any deck is the ability to exile 2 target permanents, which means you're solving 2 problems with 1 card and backing it up with an indestructible 10/10 that does not care about your life total. It's going to chew through your library in 2 turns. In singleton format, this deserves a slot, hands down, because you're getting half of their deck, and in singleton, you're running 100 cards, right? So, eating half of their library rounded up. Perfect. The sacrifice 2 permanents, it might as well not be text, because most decks are going to be able to sacrifice the 2 permanents to get rid of it, and be comfortable doing so, right? I mean, you have treasure tokens, you have, regular tokens, you have map tokens. I mean, no matter where you play this, like, there's going to be some room to sacrifice those permanents, and generally giving your opponent a choice is never a good thing.
You're hilarious though. Like Caracas. You just give it something their life.
Just okay, so if you're Caracasing Ulamog and bouncing it back to your hand,
you have to pay ward,
and then recasting it, you could exile most of their library in a couple of turns, right? But it's still, if you're facing down lethal on board or very problematic things, it still isn't solving a problem.
You have to pay ward as well.
You don't have to pay ward on your own permanents. They have to
No.
pay ward on.
If they Caracas your Ulamog.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They still have to pay ward.
So they lose half their library. Like you, okay, ready, Jeff? You're versing a Jeskai player. You cast Ulamog the Defiler. They exile half their library. It resolves, and then they Caracas it. They exile 2 permanents. Then you cast it again.
That would be. Well, I mean, but that's the same problem with Ulamog, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like you cast it, they Caracas it, and then you just like if you ever hit the Caracas with an Ulamog and you're not facing down lethal, then you should not be playing the deck. Never let them bounce it. I don't, every time somebody tries to subtlety an Ulamog, Ceaseless Hunger, I just get happy and put it right back on top. Like there's no other place that card needs to go.
Sure. You time walked me. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You lost 2 permanents and you time warped me. I think it's overhyped.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a fun alternative to Ulamog. I think Ulamog Ceaseless Hunger is actually really expensive. So I'm gonna put this as a B, just because I think it has potential to go to A if someone finds a slot for it. But there's already another.
Yeah. I think it's an attempt at a fixed Ceaseless Hunger.
Yep.
And I think it falls a little bit short about matching that power, so I think we're going to stick with a B on it. Ooh, Eldrazi Repurposer, and mind you, this is the first time that I'm seeing a lot of these cards because I'm lazy and I don't look at. No,
I wanted to keep them as a surprise. So this is the first time.
Because these look super fun.
Yeah.
I'm losing my headphones here. Okay, so we got Eldrazi Repurposer, 2 and a green, Eldrazi Drone. We've seen that before, so that's not new. Devoid, when you cast this spell and when Eldrazi Repurposer dies, create an 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token with sacrifice this. 3 mana, 3/3 on the ground. It reminds me a lot of Sky Spawner, right? Yep. Eldrazi Sky Spawner, the blue thing. One.
Yep.
I think and I think that wasn't that a 2 mana or was that 3?
It was a 3 mana 2/3.
3 mana was it 3 mana 2/3? 3 mana 2/2, something like that. Yeah, with flying. I think this is a good limited card. I don't think you're gonna see it anywhere outside.
Yeah. This is. I feel like this is a D because it's also on curve, right? Yeah. I think this it's a D, strong D. I think being
strong D.
Yeah, when you cast a spell and when it dies, so it gets 2 tokens, right? It kind of ramps because it's kind of in green, right? It's a strong D.
Yeah.
Not if it's talking about constructed, it's never going.
Yeah. I'm thinking D. I think that's pretty much it. And nothing too special here. Fun, but
yeah,
nothing you're gonna want to.
It's a limited card.
Go buy your play set of foils up yet.
Horrific Assault, green sorcery. Now we have a lot of fight cards like this, so. Before reading this, I just know it's a fight card. So yeah, it's green for a sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power, so it's a punch. To target creature or planeswalker you don't control. If you control an Eldrazi, you gain 3 life. So this is just a better punch. Right?
It's a far better punch, yeah. And it hits planeswalkers, which is crazy.
Oh right, punches don't really hit planeswalkers. So they've been doing that a lot with these cards. The artwork is sick. I love this artwork style. Good work, Justine Jones. I'm gonna put this in a C. Just because it's just a punch. I kind of wish this was in Pioneer. But this is a C for me, but you also have like Tail Swipe, which is an instant for green that does the same thing. And if you do it in main phase, I think Tail Swipe is a fight or is it a punch? I'm not sure. I'll check in the chat.
I think Tail Swipe is
Tail Swipe.
Could be a punch.
Choose target creature you control. They fight. Yeah, it's a fight. So it's
they fight.
Speed.
Okay.
Yeah, it's instant speed fight. So this is not a fight. This is a punch. And if you don't know what punch means, is that it does the power to its target rather than it sending it back. I'm gonna put this as a.
I think it could be good sideboard tech. For some of these, when you're matching up against some of these other griefs or whatever. I think it's good sideboard tech if you're looking at an aggressive format to where creatures can kind of flood the board or start matching you on power at 4, 5, and 6.
Yep.
And it gains life, which when you're looking at an aggro race, gaining life is key. I mean, if I put you out of bolt range, that's gonna change your combat math.
It's free text. It's just free abilities on this card.
Yeah.
What do you rate this?
I think as sideboard, I think we're gonna go. Yeah, we could put it in a C. I think a C is good. It has the potential. I'd pick up a play set is what I would do.
Yeah.
I think having this in your arsenal is never a bad thing.
Yeah, it's like when people go, I can see its usefulness, and then they just leave it in their binder in case they need it. And to me, a Braid is one of the most useful cards in a sideboard. Like you can go, I don't need to throw this out because I may need it.
Yeah, I mean, 2 mana lightning bolt that has a shatter effect on it is great.
Yeah, right. Warp Tusker. It's another 7 mana Eldrazi, which is relevant for Ugin's Labyrinth, right? Creature Eldrazi Boar Beast. When you cast or cycle Warp Tusker, create an 0/1 Eldrazi Spore. 2 and a green. Whoa, it's a 6/8. I didn't even say that part. It's a 6/8 with reach for 7 mana. Where are we going here? Okay, so you make a scion. No, it's just not a scion. It's a spawn. So you make a spawn. You can cycle it. Okay, it's never going in living end. 7 mana. Okay, it's a limited card. So this is a fun limited. It has flexibility, right? You can cycle. You can cast a 6/8 for reach. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a strong D. I think the ability to draw and discard, and if this said pay 3 mana, pay 3 mana, discard this card, whatever, and draw a card, and then put a land onto the battlefield, it'd be a good card. But I still don't think that it would be good enough for constructed. I think it's going to stick around in limited. I don't think you're going to see any of these being in any constructed format. I think we're sitting at a D.
The only reason I ever noticed this card is that it has, like, apart from that, I didn't care about them. I'm like, it can block things. That's kind of nice, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean it's a wall of text with reach. Like, yeah. Malevolent Rumble, 1 and a green sorcery. It's a common. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put a permanent card from among them into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. Create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi screen. Okay, so yeah, if you're trying to fill the graveyard, it's an effective card. But big mana players, we're not trying to fill the graveyard. We just want the stuff in our hand so we can go ahead and just cast it right out of our hand. Yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing a whole lot of value out of this.
I would like to reframe this card to you. Right? Give me a second to pitch this to you. So it's green, so it's never going to be instant like blue, right? Mm-hmm. It's a green impulse.
Yeah, so if you do it on turn 2, you can untap with 4 mana, between 4 and I guess 10 mana. No, because you couldn't even do 10 mana, right? Because you need some type of green filter.
Yeah, I'm just kind of saying,
colorless lands. Yeah,
it helps with your land drops. Like the fact that it goes to your graveyard, like I don't know about that. Like ignore that part. But like it helps you look at the top 4 cards and get a land. It makes a ramp, right? And it's 2 mana, right? I think again, I'm not saying it's powerful. It probably has a place in certain graveyards deck, but for the type of decks that we play, it does a lot of things that right. It gets you a card, right? Because you're always gonna get a card, right? Regardless if it's a land or not, you're always going to get some sort of card. It makes a... I feel like it has some sort of applications.
I think so, but at 2 mana, like in Modern, you're looking at mono green and Sylvan Scrying, right? Which just gets the land that you want. Or 1 mana and Ancient Stirrings, which is just better than this.
Yeah, okay.
So,
fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really... Like, you don't want to run more stuff like that.
Yep.
Because you still need your threat base, but yeah, I mean, I can't see, aside from graveyard decks, them doing anything really fantastic about it. Yeah.
Okay. What do you rate this?
I'm gonna just slide this right into the D pile. I don't think it's very constructed playable. I think there's better graveyard fillers. So
yeah, I agree. Monstrous Vortex, 3 and a green. When you cast a creature spell with power 5 or greater, discover X, where X is the spell's mana value. So it's 4 mana. I kind of a little sad that this was 4 mana when I first saw this. I kind of wanted it to be... I know it's a powerful effect, but the fact that it's 4 mana and the power has to be 5 or greater, I was kind of a little sad on this. I wish this was 3 mana and I wish the power was 4 or greater, because there's a lot of cards that care about power 4 or greater, and there's a lot of creatures that are just 4 power, right? Outcast Liberator, right? But it's at 5, so it's like, okay, this is just pushing.
Yeah, it's Commander 100%, because you're playing those grindy games where you can sit there and cast, a 5 power creature, and it, essentially double get in, and that's part of Commander, is having fun and getting these cool interactions. But constructed, again, it's taking up threat slots, and
this could be
at worst, yeah, like if you cast something, like a Reality Smasher, for instance, right?
Yeah.
You have a possibility of just discovering into another one of these. It doesn't do anything to your opponent.
Doesn't even do anything in it. Yeah, I kind of wish it was 3 mana. And I kind of wish it was powerful, because then it would be Thought Knot Seer, right? You go like turn 3 this, turn 4 a Thought Knot Seer. But whatever. It's a value card, and it's just a little. Unfortunately, I think I'm gonna have to put this in the D pile, even though I can see it being a C because of the free value. But it's just so many hoops.
Yeah, I think D is exactly where you want to be, and we're being really difficult on these cards. We're giving these cards a hard time.
Yeah, for sure. And this is, this is where we're trying to come from, right? Like, we don't want to be too over liberated and like just be like, oh, this is a C, this is an A. Like, we're being tough on it now for you to realize later that you don't need to get this card.
Yeah. Or, I'd love to be proven wrong. I love being
100%.
wrong.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
All right, I'm going to take this one. Path of Annihilation. It's already a cool name, so it's got to be a great card, right? 3 and a green, uncommon enchantment, which we don't see a lot of enchantments coming out. To support Eldrazi's, right? We get a couple, but nothing too great. Devoid makes it colorless. When Path of Annihilation enters the battlefield, create 2 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature tokens. With sacrifice this creature, add a colorless. Eldrazi's you control have the wall of text just keeps going.
It just keeps going.
Eldrazi's you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color, which is significant if you're trying to go into big mana stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 7 or greater, you gain 4 life.
There's so many paragraphs. There's
so much text on this.
You've got the flip now.
There's it makes a couple of tokens, and it's a cryptolith, right? And it's life gain. Yeah. I'm surprised it doesn't say draw a card anywhere on it. It's very, very. The art's kind of cool, but
okay, let's think about the curve though. Like, all right, so we pay 4 mana. And you get 2 Scions. Right? Let's say you're going uninterrupted, nothing gets counted, and nothing dies, right? When you untap, you've gone from 4 mana to 6, right? Because you can tap the Scion for mana, right? But then you also can sack them. So you go from 4 to 8 if you want to go.
Yeah. So you can. And you still have a land drop.
11
turn, right?
That's 9. Yeah, so that's enough.
You could effectively go from turn 4, right? Into Kozilek on turn 5,
right?
I think it's a build around card. It really is. Like, you could do more if you're playing Eldrazi on turns 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
And then you're able to take full advantage of your turn 4, and you could actually double cast around this if you play Path of Annihilation on 4 and you already have 3 other Eldrazi's on the board that can tap for mana, so you can do all 3, but you can't cast anything with a colorless requirement. You'd have to sack one of your other things. So you could, if you have extra Eldrazi, you could effectively go 10 mana Ulamog on turn 5. I think it's too slow in your competitive formats, but I think it works well with what it's trying to do. I just don't understand why it has so much text. Like, you don't need the gain for life. Like, you don't need that. The card's fine without the gain for life.
Commander players.
Commander players, yes, because 40 life isn't enough, right?
Right. Yeah, actually, okay, you're right. You brought up a good point that it didn't occur to me. You could have Eldrazi's before this, all right? So without being in a vacuum,
you are allowed, yes.
Yeah, you're allowed to. Okay, so you go turn 1 Endless, turn 2, turn 3 Mana Reshaper, turn 4. So you have a bunch of creatures, and for some bizarre reason, you're playing Eldrazi creatures, and you have planned not to attack with any of these creatures, during this turn, because you want to tap them for mana. Right, so you play this, you get 2 Scion, right?
Yep.
Now, I guess the other 3 Eldrazi's earlier can tap for mana when this comes to play turn 4. And then you're right, it turns them more into Cryptolith, right? And for some reason, you don't want to attack with these guys, so you're waiting to, cast another spell. Yeah, it's got a lot of text. I don't know how to criticize this. Like, I don't know how to analyze it, but I'm just going to put this comfortably in the C pile, because I feel like someone's going to break this. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'd be fine absolutely putting it in the C pile, because I don't know what half of this card says. It's just there's so much text on it. Yep. And by the time you read it, the round's going to be over.
So good.
It's too much text. Like, it's devoid, but it's not an Eldrazi enchantment, right? Why is it just not a green enchantment?
I'm gonna go to the next card, but this just reminds me of someone going I'm sorry, or I'm grateful for I'm sorry, but or congratulations. I don't know what this card does, but thank you. All right, that's hilarious. All right, Propagator Drone, green and a colorless Eldrazi Drone. So we're already on curve. It's a 2 mana for 2. Creature tokens you control have evolved. Okay, interesting. Yeah, that's when you can put a counter on everything, right? When a bigger creature comes in, which Eldrazi does pretty often. Create an 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature with sacrifice this creature and works for 4 mana. So it goes 4. Interesting.
Okay. I'm trying to find ways to reduce that activation cost. Is what I'm trying to do.
Grounds.
Like, how can you get it down to 1 green? That's what I want to do. Because 1 green and just make a 1/1, ramp every turn or multiple times a turn. That's what I want. Yeah. So how could you get it down effectively?
How about the evolve though? Do you feel like the evolve is doing anything here? Because like obviously Eldrazi would like to be aggro, but do you think the evolve's doing anything here?
Just because it's creature tokens, I don't think so. I'm not familiar with a whole lot of commander decks that center around tokens, but it might fit in there. Any type of populate list or something like that. But we haven't seen any token lists in competitive for a while, right? So I don't think that the evolve mechanic on it is going to be too impressive. So I mean, I'd put this on a D until somebody can break that activated ability.
Oh, sorry, you're right. You just said tokens. I realized it said creature tokens you control have. I thought it just said creatures you control have evolved. Okay, this is a worse. Okay, the fact that it's just a mana sink is nice, but yeah, this is floating in like the lower 40%. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I think it's good limited, or medium limited, even at that. Okay, I'm going to take this one. Waterscape Battle Mage, 1 and a colorless. Creature Eldrazi Wizard, because everything's an Eldrazi now, which I'm not hating. I'm just finding the comedy in it.
A lot of text, yeah.
Here we go, another wall of text on it. If there wasn't an Eldrazi wall that had a wall of text, I'm going to be disappointed. Kicker cost a green and or 1 and a blue. Okay, so it's got some flexibility on its kicker cost. When you cast a spell, if it was kicked with its green kicker cost, exile target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. Right there, I think that's going to be good if it fits in your green-blue Eldrazi version decks, if those break out. Because that right there says, for 3 mana, I get to exile the One Ring, which is a problematic card. Yeah. It just says, I get to exile the One Ring. When you cast it, if it was kicked with a... Right, exactly, yeah. Kicked with a 1 and a blue kicker, return target creature and opponent controls to its owner hand. So for 4 mana, you get to bounce a Murktide.
True. Now, awkwardly, it says creature, though. I wish it just said non-land.
I think non-land permanent's fine. I think that would have been fine.
You're paying 4 mana though.
I mean, if you're paying 4 mana, then yeah, let's go ahead and just say non-land permanent. But I think this is a good.
You think it's flexible?
I think it's very flexible. I think it's very flexible because it attacks 2 different styles of how they try to stop you. I mean, your kicker cost can get rid of your problematic cards like Damping Sphere or Void Mirror, stuff like that. Because so that works, right? Like if you're casting Waterscape Battle Mage and you're paying the kicker cost,
Wastegate.
That gets Wastegate, yeah.
Yes, correct.
I don't read cards.
You are paying green, so it's not devoid.
You are paying green, right?
Yeah, it doesn't. I think that's intentionally why it doesn't have devoid. Because if it had devoid but still had kicker, then Void Mirror wouldn't work. I mean, Void Mirror would work, and it'd be bad against Void Mirror. But the fact that you pay green with the kicker will not get countered by Void Mirror.
Perfect. So I think this might have, depending on how the meta fights back against these big Eldrazi, and they go heavier into things like Void Mirror, or start putting more Damping Spheres inside, or whatever the case may be. I think this is a good. I mean, it's possibly main deckable. It's not bad. It's a 2/2 for 2, right?
So chat just said,
it keeps you on curve.
Chat just said you can exile Urza Saga.
You can exile Urza Saga.
So you go turn 1 Dork, right? Noble Hierarch or, whatever.
So good.
And then turn 2, just exile the Urza Saga. I don't know why the opponent's playing a Saga on turn 1. Maybe they're playing Hammer. But yeah, so you can exile Saga, which is a good point.
I think that's good. Yeah, I mean, you can exile turn 1 Amulets, which are fine, right? But if that's the case, is this going to be better, in that slot? For Force of Vigor, or
true.
we have pick your poison now too, right? Which can get rid of one or the other ones.
I mean, also to think about this though, it is a 2 mana 2/2, so it's a turn 1 temple. You can play a 2/2 off an Eldrazi temple turn 1, right? It's much better than a Mimic in a way, right? So I think to me this is a comfortable. It's not a strong C, it's a comfortable. It has flexibility.
I think it has flexibility. I think if it was going to see play, it's probably going to be seeing play in sideboards if it does. But I think there's better 2-drops, especially at 2/2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, also you could just play Warping Well.
Everything has to compete with Warping Whale
It
because it says
does.
counterspell.
I love Warping Well, man. Like Doomsday is the death of me.
If you've ever caught a Rhinos player or a Living End player slipping and they cast it into a Warping Whale,
It's great.
it's great. It feels so good.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and read this card out. Sowing Mytho Spawn, right? It's green and 3 colorless. Eldrazi Fungus, Devoid. Wait, we're still going. Kicker, a colorless and a waste. When you cast a spell, search your library for a land card, put it into the battlefield, then shuffle. There's no tap. 6 mana. If you want to get a land with the cast trigger, put it into play, you get it. You cast a spell. If it was kicked, exile a target land. Oh, wow. Okay, there's more text to this. So you get to exile one of their lands. You get a land for 6 mana. It's a 4 mana 3/3, Devoid. Okay, so there's a lot to process. I kind of wish it was 3 mana to start with, plus 2 kicker. But then again, it competes with... it will have hard colorless requirements, but it will compete with our promise and stuff. That's a lot of text. So you cast trigger, get to exile their land, get a land. Chat is saying this card is great even without the kicker. I agree. I think I'm shifting this a little bit here. I feel like because it says any land and it doesn't come in tapped, I would say a low B, high C. It is a lot of mana, but Eldrazi does that, right? So, what do you think, Joe?
I think this card is going to be a 4 of. I think it's going to be a
really?
4 of main set card. I think it's extremely good. If you're able to play, your turn 3s are going to be crazy with this card, right? Because you get...
Hold up. You get the land if you just cast it normally. I thought it was kicked for both of them.
No,
Okay,
you get it. You get to exile. So it fights if the Eldrazi, kind of last time we saw some good Eldrazi stuff. We had a big rise in Eldrazi in competitive format, which means you're fighting mirror matches all day long. And I think at six mana, which is not 6 lands, it's just 6 mana. The ability to exile and slow your opponent down from completing their locust lands. It gets rid of dark depths. Like there's just, it gets rid of Tron pieces. Like I think it's just, if you're playing the Eldrazi aggro decks, I think it's a 4 of. Like you just play this, play a dork on turn 1, turn 2, you can play going all the way back to Ugin's Labyrinth, right? You just get 4 mana on turn 2, and then or Eldrazi Temple, right? And then you just get a play on turn 2. You just get to go get an extra land drop. I think that's insanely good at a 3/3 too.
So I know that Tron, for example, they sometimes have these lines where they go 3 lands, 7 mana, and they have and then they play Chromatic Sphere, right? So you go 3 lands, 7 mana, you play Sphere, put you down to 6 mana floating, you sack the Sphere for green, right? Converting colors to green, and then cast this. You already have Tron in play, so you get another land, and then you exile one of their lands, and you get a 3/3. Like I think, that's pretty good.
It's great.
And they're all cast triggers.
It's great. I think
they're all cast triggers. They're not even
I think
resolve triggers.
Yeah, they're all cast triggers, so it doesn't matter if they resolve or not. I think it's extremely good. I think that you're definitely in a high A tier category here.
Yeah,
I would put this. It's so hard not to want to put this into the S tier because I think it's fantastic. 4 mana for a 3/3 that ramps you on land stacks and and it exiles and slows your opponents down. Like that's what our big mana decks want to do, right? Like you're going to be forced to play our game. I'm not playing yours. You're going to have to answer me, and this falls right in line with everything that we do.
Jeff, right? Chat has just mentioned, right? Shout outs to Master Hersey. They have just said Yavimaya and Ivugan. Turn 2 Matheson. All right, so you just go Ivugan, Yavimaya. You can cast because you can tap green for Yavimaya. Ivugan reduces by 2, then tap green again for the eye. You go get an Ancient Tomb, put it in play, and then turn 3. It's pretty good. I like it.
Well, you go get an Ancient Tomb and then you cast your Thought Knot Seer out of hand. Like
Right.
Then you have.
Right.
You have 7 mana or 7 power, and you Thoughtseize your opponent on turn 2.
Yep. No, that's insane. I
Yeah,
didn't realize.
I think
yeah, that's good. That's good.
Ridiculously broken. I'm changing it. I'm putting it in S tier. I think this thing is going to be in.
Okay.
I'm putting it in S tier. I think it's going to be a 4 of, and we're just going to rock and roll with this thing all day long.
And it works with Stirrings, it works with Ivugan. Okay, I agree. All right, I agree. I think this is S. This is S. Like this is low key, probably going to be $1 or $2 for the next couple of weeks, and then it's going to skyrocket.
Buy all of them.
yeah, for sure. Territory color. Green and 4 colorless. Creature Eldrazi, Devoid. reach, landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you may reveal it and put it in your hand. If you don't, you may put it into your graveyard. All right, so it has some... Okay, I've never seen a landfall Eldrazi deck, a card. This is kind of weird. It is 5 mana 7/4. Like, I like that. And it has a card draw mechanic. Eldrazi's don't play fetch lands though, so this seems fun in limited because it's a 7/5 for 5.
Yeah, no, that. I think in limited it's fine.
I think there's a happy C.
I can't see it being played anywhere else besides in your limited. Maybe as a one of for commander or something like that. But one of for commander. That's pretty funny.
So color, you're a good guy for commander and maybe limited. I think I'd actually pick this in limited. I would pick this.
Yeah, I think in limited it's a great card, right? Because anything that gives you any type of advantage.
Yeah, right.
All right, here we go. Thief of Existence. 1, a colorless and a green creature Eldrazi, just a base Eldrazi. Devoid. When you cast this spell, exile up to 1 target non-creature, non-land permanent opponent controls with mana value 4 or less. If you do, Thief of Existence gains. When this creature leaves the battlefield, target opponent draws a card. Okay, so we're back. It's a 3/4, which isn't bad stats for 3 mana, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're into Thoughtseize territory, or into Thought-Not-Seer territory, which was a really good card when it was the build around Aggro Eldrazi decks, right? Most permanents, in fact, your average mana cost at least in Modern, is super low. Like, this is going to hit almost everything. Also, as far as...
This reminds me of Skyclave, though. But Skyclave is like a really bad 2/2. But, like, I compare this to Skyclave. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it really... Yeah, I think it's almost in line with Skyclave. I think it's a little bit better because it's a 3/4. And I think it's a little bit worse because it doesn't hit creatures. That's kind of the trade-off. It gets a bigger body, but it only hits it only hits whatever red and 6s or Teferis or I mean it can effectively hit
Ensnaring Bridge, right?
The ring. It can hit Ensnaring Bridge. It can hit the ring.
It does hit the ring. Yeah,
like
it exiles.
It does hit the ring. Yeah,
everything. It's so silly.
It hits Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Like it does hit a lot of stuff. But it's an advantage because everything the average mana value in constructed formats is generally pretty low. Everybody wants super cheap, efficient cards, and this kind of punishes them for it.
Yep. Now,
and it's out of bolt range, which is important.
Yeah, which is really important, right? And that's one thing that we love about endurance, right? It's always out of bolt range. Chat is mentioning something that is really important, and this is more of the legacy applications, right? Maybe other formats, but Yavimaya and Ivu switch on a lot of these green, right? Because this will become 2 mana opposed to 3 because the IV going to reduce the colorless by 1, and then even the card previously, right, the Sowing, the land ramp one, like everything just gets reduced significantly by I, right? And then even Temple, this can be like you can cast this off 1 Eldrazi Temple and it does a lot of work already. So I would like to rate this before you.
Well, you can't because it's got a colorless requirement.
Eldrazi Temple,
so you can't cast. Oh, Temple, not I.
Temple.
Yeah,
no,
I'm.
Yeah. But I would love to rate this before these. So since you have pretty strong opinions on this, I think this. I don't think it's an S. I think it's a low A, but I still think it can. I think it has potential of A because of its removal. In a sense.
I think you're going to see either strictly in sideboard, or you're going to see it in a split between sideboard and main deck. I think you'd put it in probably a high B.
A high B? Okay, I think you don't think it's an A?
I think a high B is pretty much where we're landing, or where I'm landing on it, because I think there's going to be matches where it just doesn't matter. Yeah. Like the exile effect doesn't matter, and you're just playing a 3/4, that doesn't do anything, right? A 3/4 for 3 that doesn't do anything. Where there might be better things in that slot.
That's true, but the reason I'm putting it in B is because if you're playing green, you're probably playing Delighted Halflings, or like you're probably playing a bunch of dorks, right? You're probably like ignoble hierarchs, right? Because I think, or not ignoble, like noble hierarch. Because in the past, you've seen people used to play like the Drowner of Hope noble hierarch build. You have green for Stirrings, you have green for noble hierarch, green for Broodmother or whatever, and like you have indeed blue for the Drowner of Hope, right? So I think people are gonna start brewing, and interestingly, and also green is kind of nice because you can play Cavern and that. But yeah, I think people are gonna start brewing around with like dork builds with Eldrazi. I don't think Chalice is great in Modern anymore. I don't know. I can be contested, but we can have different opinions.
Yeah. I think B is fine. I think B is fine where we should land this at.
Yeah. Again, B or C is totally fine.
Yeah.
Put it up. By the way, I'm gonna be putting all these cards in a tier maker list, so you all can review this. Go ahead and take this one.
All right, Wumpus Aberration. 3 and a green creature, Eldrazi Beast. It's an uncommon 6/6. When you cast this spell, if colorless wasn't spent to cast it, target opponent may put a creature card from their hand onto the battlefield, and it's got trample. I think it's a 6/6 trample. I think that any deck constructed that's going to play this, you're not going to have to worry about the colorless, requisite to shut off your opponent from playing a creature.
Yep.
But so I think it's fine. At 4 mana 6/6, I think it's good, but I don't know if it's good enough to where it's going to put enough pressure on your opponent, right? Like, again, you could play it turn 2 as a 2 minutes, as a turn 2 6/6 with Ayavugan and all that, but you do give them the option at that point to play a creature, and the last thing you want is somebody slamming an Emrakul onto the battlefield.
For sure. I think this fits right into the limited slot. Like, I think this is a great limited card. It's going to sit around in maybe a high D, low C, but that's it.
Yeah, I think that's probably where it's going to be. It's great and limited.
There's a lot of cards here where we're just like, I'd love to play this in sealed, and that's pretty much it. Abstruse Appropriation. It's black, white, and 2 instant devoid. Kind of weird black-white. Exile target non-land permanent. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend colorless mana of any color. So you get to exile non-land permanent, and then you get to cast it for any. I don't ever see Eldrazi players play black-white. I know it may not even be an Eldrazi card, but I thought because it's devoid, I thought we should include it in here. For me, I think this is a nice singleton in singleton formats like Commander, Highlander, 7 point. So that's pretty much it from me. It's a nice singleton card.
Yeah, the black-white mana cost on it ruins it for me.
I guess if it was 3 mana, it will compete with too many other cards that they just like straight up just exile it. But the fact that this gives you extra things to do it, like exile your Sheldred on end step, and then you get to cast it later. Like, it's kind of like, I can see this played in certain older formats.
I mean, you can't even cast the card if it's may spend colorless mana as those. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, like, if you hit an Eldrazi with a colorless requirement, like, can you even cast the card? Probably though, right?
May spend it colorless
because it's a may spend colorless.
It's a may, yeah. So if you exile a Sheldred at end step, then you can still cast it for black 2 colorless, but you also can just use 4 colorless.
Yeah,
it's like
I don't know. I think the black-white is kind of a mess.
Yeah, I can see this in like potential sideboards of like singleton formats. But
yeah.
So for me, I know it's a rare, but I'm gonna chuck this in. Like, it's not for us. It's not for us, but it has application.
It has application in constructed.
Whoa! All right, Devourer of Destiny. I know you have a lot of opinions about this one. Devourer of Destiny, a 7 mana. It's 2 waste and 5 colorless. Eldrazi creature. You may reveal this card from your opening hand. If you do, at the beginning of your first upkeep, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may put one of them back in the top of your library and exile them. That's it. Just because they get exiled. When you cast this spell, exile target permanent that's 1 or more colors. Now, okay, I know you're gonna have a lot of things to say about this card, but for me, it's a very janky Once Upon a Time, right? But you don't get the card in your hand. You just get to look at the top 4 into the top again. You put one of them back in the top again. Now, awkwardly, I've playtested this. I played at the Modern Horizons creator content early access, and I had 2 of them in my hand, and that was very awkward because I just looked at the top 4, found one, put it back top, and then looked at the next top 4, exiled 6 cards. But I still feel like it's kind of nice that Eldrazi have this effect. So I'm going to put this in a B, just because I think it has application, it has cool stuff, and it gets the exile a colored permanent. And it's a 6/6 for 7, which is a lot of mana. It works under Ugin's Labyrinth, right? It's reduced by Ayavugan. I don't know if it can fit into an A yet, but for me, it's a B.
I think you're pretty much spot on. I think this card has a lot of potential. I think that using your first turn to find a Uggin's Labyrinth, to be able to play the Uggin's Labyrinth with this under it on turn 1, might be extremely good. And I mean, if you have to exile 3 cards, like, what are you exiling that's really going to matter? Right? Because you get to play
Tron lands.
2 things. Yeah, I mean, sure, you get to play Tron lands, but, in Modern, you're built around it, right? So unless they're playing ways to continually blow up multiple of the same Tron land, like, you can afford to sacrifice 1, right? I want to put it in a B, but I want to reserve the right to put this into an A,
Yep.
this very well might be, if you're looking for explosive Eldrazi starts, one of the best cards that you can have, right?
Yeah. It's like kind of like a serum powder, but not, right? A serum. People have played serum powder sometimes in Eldrazi just to like always get Tron, right? And this is not exiling cards to oblivion to serum powder. It's like sorting them, kind of.
Yeah, and it's during your upkeep, right? So you just get to set up your next draw out of the top 4 cards.
Right.
So I think I really think that it's B breaking into A, and if it breaks into A, I think it's going to be a 4 of,
all right,
and you're
so
just going to use it to set them up.
I'd love to ask you a question, Jeff.
Yes.
So I know you're an Eldrazi player, but for some reason you've abandoned Eldrazi, you don't play Eldrazi anymore, and you want to use this card in an all-in combo deck. We're talking Belcher. We're talking decks that like need a specific card to win. Do you just play 4 of these?
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely. If you're looking at all-in combo decks like Belcher that need to set up, I think you just play it.
Yeah, right. Right, like that's what I thought about.
Right?
This card can be played in the wrong decks.
No, it can be played in any deck. Like, you don't even have to cast it, right? Like, you just run it to Once Upon a Time.
Yep. And the weird thing though, with like the difference here with Once Upon a Time is that yes, you get one. It's better. It goes into your hand, right? And the sequential ones after the first are just regular, impulses, all right, or 2 mana. Go look at the cards. But this one, it only happens. It can multiple times can happen. But then outside of that, they're just 7 mana cards. That like is like a
it's a 7 mana essentially a Vindicate, which is great, right? Like anytime you get a just exile a permanent, I think it's in the Eldrazi decks. I think it's borderline really, really, really good.
Yep.
Because especially if you want to be like, oh, I have 2 of these, but I don't have my Eye of Ugin.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's dig 8 cards down and find my Eye of Ugin so I can start doing crazy things on turn 1.
Yeah, and like for me as well, 7 mana is a very important mana cost because in Legacy, I play a lot of Soul Land decks, right? I will quite oftenly go turn 1 Ancient Tomb, the Grim Monolith, and then turn 2 play another Soul Land. So that automatically equals. So I don't know what colored permanent you're going to exile on turn 1, maybe the Exploration, Dork, right? Which is not really worth it, but you get a 6/6, but you've just burnt the Grim Monolith and paid, 6 life because you played the Grim Monolith turn 1, another 2 and turn 2. So
I think the downfall with most of this is you're still dealing with the elementals, right? You're still dealing with solitudes. You're still dealing with subtleties.
Yep.
I mean, like, if you're gonna burn a whole bunch of cards, like, you got to make it really count.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to do is play your turn to Devourer of Destinies.
Yeah. And they get solitude and you get 6, and then you just
maybe exile something that they have.
Yep.
Which has to be at least 1 color.
Yep.
And then just get it solituded.
Yep. And your opponent has just lost 2 cards, right? Because they solituded, and then they lost their dork, and then you just also sorted the top 4, but then you've gotten 1 card, and then you gain 6 life from the solitudes, and then you're just like, where am I going with this?
I think there might be better things. All right, Snapping Voidcraw. 1 a green and a blue. It does not have an actual colorless requirement on it.
Oh, that's
Eldrazi Turtle, which why not? Common, devoid, tap, add 2 colorless, and then you can pay 3 in a colorless, tap it and draw a card. It's a 1/3.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I don't think it's going to see any competitive play.
I think this could be a pauper card, to be honest. Like, it draws a card, it makes some mana. Like, maybe if you're playing colorless Eldrazi and pauper, it could do something. But yeah, I think this is a D.
Yeah, I think it's a D. I don't think it's great. I like the fact that we're finally coming across some stuff that has flavor text on it.
Yep.
Once considered a delicacy, turtle soup is no longer served in Nephalia's inns.
Yeah, right. Nice. I like it. I kind of wish I had vigilance. I wish I had vigilance.
Vigilance would be out of 1/3. Vigilance would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
You could
hit him for 1 and then tap. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. No, I think that's fine. But yeah, it's just gonna be a limited card.
Yep. Titan's Vanguard. A lot of mana. It's green, red, and a 3 creature Eldrazi. Devoid. Wait, hold on. It's a Gruul. 5/5 for 5 trample. When you cast this spell and whenever Titan of Vanguard attacks, put a 1/1 counter on each colorless creature control. Whoa! Well, this is a lot of text. This is a lot of abilities. Sorry. So when you cast and when it attacks, so this we're going in the territory of not really like Primeval Titans, the Titan era where like it used to be ETB cast and attacks because that's very Eldrazi on flavor, and it has text and it's a 5/5 trample. So I would like to put this in. I don't think it's limited trash. I think it's good.
I think when you're looking at the cards that we were talking about, where like you're a couple of cards off from a good red green modern Eldrazi deck,
Hmm.
I think this is one of those cards,
Hmm.
right? Because you're just going to make your Thought-Knot Seers 5/5s and your Reality Smasher 6/6s when it comes down, right?
Yeah.
So that means you get a smash in for 11 just with those two other creatures.
Yep.
And this comes down. I think this is going to be a good card. It might not be more than a 2 of, but I think it's going to be a good card. And if it sits on the board, it's going to run away with the game because it does have trample too, right?
Yep. It's a curve top.
And it's not. Yeah, I mean it's not legendary, so if you have 2 of them, they're going to pump each other. Like I think it's a good. I think it's one of those supplemental red green Eldrazi cards that we could see it come back from.
Right.
So I'm going to put it in B as a 2 of in the main deck.
B. Oh wow, you're pretty high on this. Yeah,
specifically,
definitely.
I think it's gonna overrun some of these things.
Yeah, I agree. I can agree with B only on the premise that it's never a 4-of. I don't think like the Smasher. All right, there's Thought-Knot Seers. Like there's a lot of cards to fit in Eldrazi show already, and you already want to play smaller creatures to curve up to this. So like example, if you play Mimic, right, and let's say you haven't played any other card after that, you play this on turn 5 or even turn 4, right, you played like the Mimic becomes a 5/5, so it's already good, pretty good, and then yeah, it becomes a 6/6, right?
Yep, it becomes a 6/6. Karn Father bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, Karn Father. Yeah, I can see this in a low B.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a low B. I don't think you're going to see as a 4 of in any list. I think you're going to see it as a 2 of. Possibly a 3 of, depending on how the list is built, but I think it's an extremely strong card when you're going into competitive. All right, Writhing Chrysalis. Okay, so we're still into Gruul too. So we got 2, a green and a red. Eldrazi Drone. It's a 2/3, so you're a little lacking on your mana versus your stats. Devoid. When you cast a spell, create 2 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature tokens with sacrifice at the colorless. Reach. Whenever you sacrifice another Eldrazi, put a 1/1 counter on it. I think this is another one of those trap cards. Even though it gives you the ability to ramp and kind of make itself a little bigger. So if you're casting it on turn 2 or turn 3, it's you can untap the next turn with effectively a 4/5 and have the extra mana.
Yep.
But you're not sacking anything else in the Eldrazi spawn. Right? Like there's no other Eldrazi's that you're going to willingly be sacking because you want the board presence and everything. So I think it's a trap card. I think it's good limited. I'd slam that thing right into D and move on.
I agree. I think it's the only thing that saves this whole entire card is that it makes 2 slots. If it made 1 spawn, so yeah, this is straight in D. Maybe it does. Oh, I'm in love with this card. All right. So
okay.
Disruptor Flute. It's a 2 colorless artifact flash. When Disruptor Flute enters the battlefield, choose a name card. Choose a card name. It's just like Pinning Needle. Spells with the chosen name cost 3 more to cast. Activate abilities of sources with the chosen card name can't be activated. It's Needle, right? Needle will flash.
Yep.
The reason I'm in love with this card is because you can cast it in response to a Planeswalker. Right, they cast a red and you cast it and they just can't activate it. I've had a moment on the early access stream where someone has activated a wasteland to activate some sort of ability of one of their artifacts or creatures or something, and then in response I flashed in the flute to name the way. Now also you can do that, right? They play a Field of Ruin and they don't want to field you yet because you don't have Tron. You could just flash in this flute. Now the great thing I love about this is that it's 2 mana. It plays around Chalice, and secondly, like you could just play it before you reach Tron to stop people, besieging. And then it has the additional ability of like spells. It's not a dead card. It's not only a Spyglass, which you can't see. Your Spyglass is whatever you name. Let's say you're naming Force of Will or whatever. You're trying to protect yourself for like a combo kill or a really big impactful kill, and they have a Force in their hand because you've like somehow Gataxian probed them. You can play it on their end step to see what they have, right? Not even see what they have, but you can just play on end step to play name Force of Will and then untap, right? And everything they play, they have to. I'm putting this personally myself. It's not S, but it's a very high A.
Well, I like everything this card does. Every single thing. My issue with it is if it's in the sideboard in any of the decks, you're probably going to be running Karn, which means it's going to be a 1/of. Which means you're either not bringing it in or you're going to be bringing it in as a 1/of and hoping to play that gotcha with 2 mana. I could see it in maybe a prison style deck where you're just going to start shutting them off of things, and then you play it as a 4/of. But aside from just prison, I mean, I don't know, because you play Needle in prison, right?
Correct. We play one Needle because it's
Yeah. Okay. So you can't even get this off Saga. Like, does this replace Needle in the prison list?
We have 2 or 3 flex slots in Modern Prison.
Okay.
Right. We have we were playing Miasma's Tome. We were playing Power Conduit. All right, to reset Ring and reset Sagas and stuff. But yeah, in Prison I can play maybe a 1-of or 2-of. All right, and one in sideboard, or maybe 1 in main, all right? Because I really like cards like Miasma's Tome or Conduit, Power Conduit. Eternal formats like Legacy, I can see this just being like 4-of in certain decks, right?
Yeah, I could definitely see in Legacy or Vintage if you're building that Prison deck, or anything that Vintage does, right? Because if you get to play this on turn 1 and you're just like, okay, like Black Lotus or what other one of your Power 9 that everybody always plays on turn 1, like that's perfectly okay. But anything without a house payment attached to a down payment for a house attached to the deck cost,
right.
I think you're probably going to see it as a 1-of in the sideboard, unless specifically you're in Prison, in which case you have a couple of slots that you can play it. I put it in a real solid middle of the road B. I think it's a good sideboard card. I don't think that it's going to do anything less than that.
I mean, they also can name stuff like Mox Diamond, right? So like if you play like a Soul Land turn 1 pass, and then someone's like, all right, Mox Diamond, and then they try to discard something, you're like, no, hold on, Mox Diamond, I spell in the stack, I'm gonna name Mox Diamond. They're still gonna have to discard something, or they just sack it. Then they're just down a whole instant speed. A lot of people rely on Mox. I don't know, I can just see a lot of, but you can feel free to agree differently, but I'm very high on this.
Yeah, I mean, and you could be right. I think it's just, I don't think it's any more than a good sideboard card. But I mean, in cases where they cast a Mox Diamond and you shut it down as a response, where they have to pay 3 to activate it, well, no, because that's a mana ability, so they can do it, right?
Right. Correct. My bad.
Yeah. So yeah, anything on the stack isn't going to be affected by the casting tax, right?
Yep.
And I think it's middle of the road B is a great sideboard card, but I don't know if it replaces Needle, but it might replace Sorcerer Spyglass, stuff like that.
Yep. I mean, yeah, Spyglass with Flash, but Spyglass consistent. Yeah. Idol of the False Gods, 2 mana, Kindred Eldrazi artifact. I had to read this one. I had a lot of text on this one. Like when I opened it, I was like, huh? It creates a spawn, Eldrazi spawn for 2 mana. And then when Eldrazi dies, it puts a counter on itself. But it's not a creature. It's just a mana rock, kind of an artifact. As long as that it's 8 or more 1/1 counters, it becomes a 8/8 with a 9. So it becomes a creature. It's kind of nice. I feel like this fits into like Eldrazi Commander kind of thing. I don't know if it has constructible playable in Modern or Legacy. Like people will like test around and brew with this, but a free 8/8's kind of nice, I guess. But most effects in constructive formats these days are either exile, right? What are your thoughts, Geoff?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a build around card. I think you're going to make this work. This is going to be the centerpiece of your deck there. It's going to be the stake, and you're going to have to make all the other parts of your deck work around it.
Yeah. I mean, 8/8. There's also ways to there's things like hardened scales. If that's for creatures, right? So somehow, if you can make this creature and then not even hardened scales, there is that green instant spell that says X and green, where you turn an artifact into a creature and put counters on it. All right. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of ways, but it's a
it's definitely a build around. Like when you're playing an Idol of the False Gods, deck, that's the thing where you just want to and it is a kindred artifact Eldrazi, right? So I guess it does work with Ayavugan.
Yep. Oh, yeah, right. It does.
Right.
Yep.
It does. It works with Eldrazi Temple, right?
Yep. Forgot about that part.
So you do have some support for it.
Yep.
Yeah, it does. It hits the types with Goyf.
Yep.
But I think this is one of those things where you're going to try to get it to 8 counters as quickly as possible, and it's going to be specifically for the Annihilator too. Because if you can get that quick, right, then you're good.
For me, I put this as a C, just because it's a build around. All right, you take this one.
Vexing Bauble. I mean, I think everybody's heard about this card. I haven't looked at the set, and I saw people post about this. This is a 1 mana artifact, uncommon. Whenever a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. Pay 1, tap it, sacrifice Vexing Bauble, draw a card. I think this card is fantastic. If you're going against decks that are designed to cheat things in, I think that this is a great counter for decks like ours against against things like the elementals, right? Force of Negation, they just can't cast Force of Negation or Force of Will.
Yep.
It just shuts down. Like, it works so good in the counter things, and it draws a card, which there's no downside to it as far as I'm concerned. Like, you just play this and let's go.
It's a big go away to Solitude as well. Obviously, Solitude or Grief is like big deals for us. All right, you can, if you're on the play and they're a Grief deck, they're a Scam deck, which Scam is quite important, right? We're very popular. We don't really have much interaction against Scam, right? You just go turn one bobble, pass, and then they're just like, what? Like, I don't think Black has really any way to. I know Scam plays red, but Black doesn't really have any way to deal with artifacts that well, right? Or even if anything. Now in Legacy applications, I know that you have a lot more experience in Modern, right? You play Legacy as well, but Modern is your expertise. In Legacy, this card is a house. Like, I played the early access event. I played some Eldrazi Stompy, and I versed some like Jeskai decks and stuff. I played a turn 1 Vexing Bubble, and because they had double force and a force negation in their hand, they forced pitching negation. And then I just played a second one, turn 2, and they forced pitching a ponder. And I'm like, and they were just like, I have to counter this, because if I don't, all my counter spells are dead, right?
Yep.
So they were just like, they just burned through 4 cards for 2, and I 4 for 2 them, and they were just like, we have to counter this, because even that, if it resolves and they don't have a prismatic ending to deal with it, right, or some sort of like, you know, something, right, I just sack it and draw a card later. Like, it's like your prismatic ending is a waste. Like, I've just 2 for 1 because you're trying to remove it, and I've just drawn a card.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this,
I mean, the card is going to be a house, and if anybody tries to break the shifting wasteland or the shifting. The green
Woodlands.
man,
Shifting Woodlands.
Yeah, shifting woodlands. Break that with omniscience. Like, this just is a counter to the whole deck, because they can't cast anything with omniscience, because they it just gets countered.
For sure.
No,
Yeah.
I think this is a great card. I think it's better in Legacy than it is in Modern. But I think it's still super effective. I mean, in Vintage, like it's just whoever lands it first wins the game, right?
Yeah, it's very, and it's
Yeah,
uncommon.
this is your win condition in Vintage.
There are some rares in this. I know that it had to do the rarity, like occurrence of how many cards. I just feel like this could be, but it's a common, uncommon.
Yeah, I think it's got the potential to be a rare, but yeah. Winter Moon. 2 mana artifact. It's a rare. Players can't untap more than 1 non-basic land during their untap step. Boo. It's another one that hates big mana, and none of them are effective, right? They just aren't.
So many times you get I get my Twitter friends are talking about like, oh, Void Mirror. Let me know when this is let me know. Go ahead and tag me when this is the format hate card of the Dampening Sphere, Void Mirror. All these cards, they don't print it to stop big mana. It never stops. It never stops us.
Yeah, like, I mean, honestly, if you just played an entire deck of 2 mana artifacts that were designed to hate big mana decks, then they may work, right? But I refer to it as the Blood Moon problem. Like, you can Blood Moon me and shut off all my lands, and it does not matter unless you're following it up either directly after or previously to the Blood Moon with a viable clock, right?
Yep.
Because otherwise, I'm just going to play lands. Like, sure, can't untap more than 1 non-basic land during their untap step. If you're not killing me, I don't have to do anything. I can just play my lands. They're untapped. I untap another one, untap another one, untap another one, and give me 3 turns, and I'm going to wreck your life. I think it's another trap card for people that are like, oh, this is finally going to be the one it's bad. It's bad.
Winter Orb, right? You know Winter Orb exists, right? So Winter Orb reads like, I think it's like each player can only untap 1 land in general, right? Not a non-basic land, just 1 tap. Now, I know Delver players used to play that in their sideboard to like hate on other cards because all their spells are 1 mana, right? But for us, I also thought about, can Winter Moon work for us? Because our Urza's Tower, tap for 3, right? We can untap Tower and they can untap 1 land, right? But I don't know. This is, to me, it feels like a trap. I'll put this in a C, but I'm glad that it exists, right? There are certain decks that go real big, and you need cards like this.
I think you do, and I think with all the mana bases being so greedy right now, in Modern specifically, I think it's great to kind of slow down some of your matches, but it really doesn't do a whole lot against us. It just doesn't. I think there's, just play your Besejus and be fine with it.
When this card got spoiled, I straight up just kept thinking like, how can I tap my opponent's land? Like, with what's that something orb? Like, there's that orb. I think it's called there's an orb. There's a random artifact that's 4 mana in Modern that says like tap a creature, artifact, or land for 1 mana.
Oh, Icy? Is it Icy
Icy
Manipulator?
manipulator,
No,
yeah. Icy
Icy
manipulator, yeah.
Manipulator. Yeah,
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 you can
yeah.
like tap a random
Yeah,
thing, and I was like, no wait, this doesn't work because if I'm activating my land, I'm
yeah. If
activating on
you're
basic.
activating your land, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like you need a basic to be able to tap with it every turn.
pretty much.
But
Yeah, I thought about
yeah,
it.
no,
I love
yeah,
annoying people.
I think it was a good attempt at a card. I think it's a big miss as far as what they're going to want to do. Because if
I
I'm
agree.
tapping my lands and I'm not going to be able to untap, what I'm casting is not going to.
Yeah. And I agree with your Blood Moon effect theory because, yeah, a lot of people think Blood Moon just wrecks Tron. I'm like, no, you just slow me down. Like, I'm still casting. I'm
Yeah.
gonna Odestone.
Yeah, I mean, the waste, the snow-covered waste. That's great.
Yeah, if you didn't know, wastes are really expensive at the moment. Like,
Yeah,
regular
I think
basic
the
waste.
full art ones. Yeah, the full art ones out of this set are like $5 or $6 a piece.
Yeah, they look
Which,
pretty as well. But yeah, I think because certain commander players, right, they just need a lot of them. You know, they start stocking away. And also, the game only came printed in one set, right? Potentially, I think, right? The Battle for Zendikar, right?
yeah, Battle for Zendikar was the only one that they
Why would we ever need
printed
snow
waste.
code? I guess more types.
Okay, here it is. Here's the
Here it
money
is.
card. We don't need to look at anything after this card. This is the money card.
Ugin Labyrinth. It's a land. It's a mythic. It fills the mythic slot, which means it comes up less. Imprint. When Ugin Labyrinth enters the battlefield, you may exile a colorless card with 7 value or greater from your hand. Add a colorless. If this card is exiled with Ugin Labyrinth, add a 2 colorless instead. Return the exile card to its owners. So you can activate it to return the 7 CMC card to your hand, right? Now, it says colorless card. It doesn't say colorless creature, which is awesome. And also the other thing is it's not legendary. Like, Geoff, what do you think about it being not legendary?
Okay, so when I look at this card, here's the only thing that I'm thinking, right? What was the 7 mana one that looked at the top 4 cards and then exiled one?
Devourer of Destinies?
Is okay, so you play that, you play this, you play a full play set of Gemstone Caverns, you play a full play set of Trinispheres and a whole play set of Chalice of the Voids. And you're either on the draw, and then you get to play Chalice of the Void, or you get to play Trinisphere on turn 1.
Yep.
Right? Because you get the Gemstone Caverns and Ugin's Labyrinth with the Devourer of Destinies underneath it.
Yep.
Or you just play this and you get a Chalice on 1. And there's, I mean, all the decks that kind of outrun and outrace you are going to fall to Chalice on 1, and you just get to run away with the game. I think for a prison style deck, this card is amazing.
Yep. 100%.
I think it's going to be best in Affinity because they just get to play all of their 7 mana cost things for free.
Yeah, or the big Frogmites or whatever, like all the big not Frogmites, the what's the new one? The red Frogmite, big Mirror Enforcer. There's a new Mirror Enforcer.
Yeah, Mirror Enforcer. Yeah, it doesn't work with Thought, whatever it is,
Thought
the blue
Monitor.
one.
Yeah, Thought Monitor's
Thought
blue.
Monitor because
yeah.
because it has to be a colorless card.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean it's great. Like I think this is a breakout card. I think it's going to be a 4 of in multiple set lists.
I think we have
I
think this is S for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, it's 100% S. It's 100% S. It's multiple decks. You can play 4 copies of it.
Yep.
It's all upside. Like it's either a colorless land or it's a soul land, and
modern.
It avoids things. Yeah, in modern, and the biggest thing is it avoids if you exile, say, an Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, you no longer need to sideboard that out in the scam match.
Yeah, right.
Because you can hide it underneath your land until you have the mana to cast it, and then you just get to go. Okay, like you're not Thoughtseizing it, right? Because the danger about that was Dothy Voidwalker, where they play Voidwalker, they Thoughtseize your Ulamog,
and then reanimate it. Oh, they cast it,
and they cast it and reanimate it. So you get to save this in your hand until you have an Ulamog or a threat in hand that you want to make sure that you keep, and then you just hide it right under Ulamog's Labyrinth, and you just watch them stare at that while you're making land drops.
So it's turned from Ugin's Labyrinth to Ulamog's Labyrinth now?
It's very, very possible. Yeah. I think it's a great card. I think it's fantastic, and I can't see the price dropping much less than it already has.
Yeah, I was just about to point that out.
It'll probably rise. Yeah.
Great artwork, not legendary, good effects. The return the exile card to its owner's hand tap ability at the end of the card just is like extra icing on top. I can tell this was the chase card of the whole ones I saw.
Not at sorcery speed.
Right. It's like
you can do it EOT, which is fantastic.
And
you
it's
can
not
do
in
it
Commander. It's not in Commander. It's in Modern, right? That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. You can bounce that back to your hand. The spell under it. in response to land destruction. Like,
Yeah, it's very good.
It's great. However you cut it, it's great.
And the hilarious thing
I think,
is that you can put all his dust under it, right? Another valuable card that you don't normally cast
yeah.
early, and then you just activate it later on and just cast it. You're just like, yeah, nah, no, whatever.
Yeah, let me hide this board wipe just right in front of your face.
Yeah, right. So it puts that psychology of like the opponent doesn't want to like commit because you have this all this dust hanging out there.
Yeah, right. They don't want to, but they have to race you because you're just getting more and more advantage on your mana base. Yeah, I think it's great. It's clearly S.
Yeah, clearly S. I kind of wish it was a little cheaper though. Right now, I think I've seen floating like $88, $90, or maybe more. How much is it going around?
I think I saw the average on TCG either this morning or last night was like 65.
Okay, yeah, a little bit cheaper on TCG.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's any less than a $50 card.
Yeah, right.
I mean, isn't Saga still floating around there too, around $50?
Oh, really? Wow.
I think it is. I mean, I haven't looked at.
Yep. So I'm seeing with the MTG bot here, Modern Horizons 3 is about 65.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. This is definitely
I think it's great. I think you can wait a little bit till it drops down to closer to 50, but I think you're fine.
Do you want to take this on?
Urza's Cave. This is one of those chase uncommons, right? Where it's you got a good. I think it was like $7, $8, $9, $10, something like that. But it's land Urza's Cave. Adds a colorless 3 mana, tap, sacrifice Urza's Cave, search your library for a land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. I mean it's fantastic, right?
Yeah.
It just is like it can. I mean it's so close to Expedition Map, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And you can just play. It's an Urza land, which is amazing, right? It works for certain things like Urza's Workshop and other Eternal formats. It's I kind of wish it was 2 mana. I think that's too strong though. But as for colors, which is great, I think this is actually one of the strongest uncommons I've seen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, by far. Anything that gets a non-basic land.
Yep.
Is going to be super beneficial. And it puts it right onto the battlefield. Like, it doesn't even put it in your hand. Like, it just puts it onto the battlefield. Sure, it's tapped, whatever, but you can do this EOT. I mean, you have plenty of maneuverability for this. The land bases are going to get tricky because we have so many good things that you're going to start finding really tight room to fit some of this stuff in. So it might be a 1 of, it might be a 4 of. I mean, I don't know where we're going to land on it, but I think it's going to be extremely strong wherever it does. I mean, I'd put this automatically. I'd put this in at least B, B, probably 100%. More A.
I agree. This could I was tempted to say A, but only just because maybe if it was too CMC, it could be living in A for right. But I see this in a strong B. And to me, this just reads pay 3 mana, get Tolarian Academy. Or Vicious Workshop.
Yep.
Now, also, Geoff, you have to remember, this is a land. What can lands be done? Ramanap Excavators, Crucible of Worlds. It can be repeated over and over again.
Yeah, right? I mean, maybe we see a comeback with Crucible in Modern, right? Like,
right.
It's fallen out so much.
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
maybe.
The fact that it's 3 mana, you can use this to cast Crucible. And then if you can cast Crucible, it means you have probably 3 mana available and you need another one to activate it. So you play 4 mana. And if you are doing nothing, let's say you've played a bridge somewhere there, you can just loop this, get Inventor's Fair, and then just keep looping this, right? Like, it works. I kind of wish this was a 4 of in certain decks, but I don't think it is. It's probably a 1 of or maybe a 2 of. But I love where it's going. I love what the power level they're doing in Modern Horizons for me. This is a B. This is definitely B.
This is a strong B.
Go ahead.
Drowner of Truth. So this is 5, and we got a hybrid blue and green for 2 of those, right? So 7 mana total. 7/6 Eldrazi creature type devoid. When you cast a spell, if colorless was spent to cast it, create 2 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature tokens with sacrifice this creature, add colorless. And on the backside, I think it's a tap
Simic land.
Yeah, tap
Simic 7/6. It's a 7/6 on one side and it's a tap Simic land on the other.
It's a good limited card, but I can't see it seeing competitive play. I mean, it's just like the lands would be worth more if Field of Dead was a thing, and you have both sides of it to where you can make a bunch of 2/2s.
Yep.
Or you can cast a 7/6, I guess, but Yeah, I mean, as it stands, we're just gonna put it right in the D category because it's a limited card. Like you're not gonna find any. Yeah.
The only when I first read this card, I didn't even care. It's word, it's text, the cast trigger, nothing. I just went, oh, it comes in tapped, and then you can blink the land. Because Ghost Flicker lets you blink things, and you can put a 7/6. And my friends are like, and then what? You have a 7/6? I'm like, yeah, you have a 7/6, and that was it. So
you don't even get the 2 colorless Eldrazi spawn tokens.
No,
right?
you just get a 7/6.
Just get the 7/6.
Yep, no text, no extra ability. It's got the void.
There's so much better things to cheat, right? Like I think this is just a limited card. It would be cool to do some awesome stuff, but no.
I mean, my janky ass mind just wants to like blink this with Ghostly Flicker, and then I would probably just like Elvish Evolution or Neoform it or something. Like I would just try to like do something silly like Neoform a 7 into an 8, get Grizzlebrand. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean again, like if you're but is it better than Allosaurus Rider?
Yeah, right.
Because Allosaurus Rider is the same thing, and you just do the same thing, it's better, right?
Yeah. But you lose 2 cards. I get you.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay.
Oh.
Meltdown, X and red. Sorcery. Destroy each artifact with mana value X or less. Now, the reason I included this in here is because I'm excited, but I'm also not excited that Meltdown is in Modern. And I'm glad that it got reprinted, because Meltdown was tricky to find because it was an old card, right? But I play Prison deck, and it's one of my best decks I perform in Modern. The fact that Meltdown exists now is horrible for me, because all my bridges, I mean, things already get destroyed to Force of Vigor, but I usually use Spellskite to get around it. But Meltdown existing now is definitely going to put my decks a little bit more dusty on the
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a sorcery, and we do have access to Warping Whale. So maybe it's time to up your Warping Whale count so we can get in, start countering these Meltdowns. Because I guarantee you can play more Warping Whales than they can play Meltdowns.
And
yeah, right?
I hate Noble Hierarch.
Yeah, no, that's... Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's a great reprint. I think it was starting to become very difficult to find because it had a single printing on it. So I think it's a great reprint. I don't think it's going to have too much of effect. If you get caught and you get meltdowned, like you can rebuild, because they're going to have to spend a good portion of their mana to be able to melt down everything, right?
Yep.
So I think you're going to be fine.
If you are an opponent, folks, and you're bringing in Meltdown against an Eldrazi deck, you're not sideboarding correct, to be honest.
Yeah.
So if you want to Meltdown me, I'll be like, I'm happy for you, but I'm just going to untap and attack you. So I put this in a C, but only if it goes shift to B, just because I'm happy.
Yeah. I think it's a good C. I think you're going to find a couple of decks that really, really fear this card. Hardened Scales, for instance.
Hammer.
It's gonna wreck Hardened Scales.
Yep.
The affinity decks play such big creatures that X equals 7, so you're spending 8 mana to try and wipe their board.
Yeah, right.
It just doesn't feel good when you're and you're not gonna have 8 mana, right? Like they flood the board so quick. So I think it's C. I think it's a good reprint for its value and for availability, but I think it's gonna be a sideboard card, maybe 1 to 2 of. I think people are going to get excited about it before they start taking it out.
100%. And I think one thing to realize is that Meltdown is so impactful in the older formats because Moxons exist and the artifact lands like Seat of the Sea exist. But the more the artifact lands that get played, apart from like certain particular treasure vaults or whatever, is that the artifact lands that get played are generally indestructible. So it doesn't really matter about that, right? So yeah. All right, put that in C.
Yeah, we're gonna put it in C.
Oh, a reprint. Urza's Incubator, 3 colorless artifact. As Urza's Incubator enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creature spells of the chosen type cost 2 less. I'll let you start off.
I think it falls right along the line of the other 3 mana cost reduction things, right? It's going to be a 3 mana rock, and it's a good 3 mana rock because you do that, but you can't cast it off Eye of Ugin, right? Because it doesn't fall into the Eldrazi. If you're spending your 3rd turn casting this, you're not casting the creatures behind it.
Yeah, right.
So I think as far as Eldrazi, it's going to be a miss. Might find a home in maybe no, because Merfolk plays Vials, right? Like
right. And they also
I don't know.
Pips,
yeah. I mean, again, it's a build around deck. Goblins doesn't want it. I'm just trying to think of
Jeff, do you know
What?
why it got printed, right?
Yeah.
This card is extremely popular in Commander.
Oh, is that what it was? You're just a
Yep.
commander feeder? Okay,
Oh.
commander feeder. Congratulations, guys.
I got a sub. Congrats. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, it's extreme because tribal decks.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Tribal decks are super popular in Commander. Like people want to play cats, they want to play snakes, they want to play like rats, whatever. So this was a good reprint, and I think because it's an old card and it got reprinted, I actually think I have a feeling it was reprinted. I mean, sorry, it was getting expensive. It's kind of one of those like Ristic studies kind of dilemmas, right? Like, Ristic, I mean, they've got reprinted Ristic studies a bunch of times, but like Cavern, for example, was getting really expensive because, you know, and before it came into standard, it just, people love tribal decks, right? All those casual players love. From a competitive point of view, this does nothing for us. It's good for the finance market, but I put this in a C only because certain decks might have a little bit of fun with this, but it definitely is not. It's not a limited. Yeah, it's not one of those.
No, I mean it's not good and limited. It's very very useful and needed in Commander for some of these more casual tribal decks, like you said.
Yep.
Yeah, I think a C is good. Yeah, reduce the price on it a little bit. Yeah.
Worn
Go for
Power
it.
Stone. 3 mana. Okay, I was kind of excited at first, but then I'm not excited anymore. But Worn Power Stone is a 3 mana artifact that says when it enters the battlefield, it comes in tapped and it taps for 2 colorless. So it's a 3 mana rock, which is a lot of things. There's a lot of 3 mana rocks for 3 mana. But it taps for 2 colorless. So it's better than your average chromatic. What's that? Chromatic Lantern, right? It's better than your like. I don't know. We have mana reshape at that slot, but it's just nice to have a mana rock that taps for 2. That is 3 mana. It's not impactful. It's not like exciting, but it does something. And you could play a 1-of, maybe a 2-of for it, but some people already play Mind Stone to go turn 2 Mind Stone, turn 3 and I thought not. But for me, this is just another.
I'm gonna go even lower than that. I think it's gonna be a D.
Interesting.
I think it's a D. I think it's almost unplayable and limited because there's just better things in the 3 slot. I think Commander players, they'll pick up a copy of it to fill some sort of additional mana rock value in their deck.
Yep.
And aside from that, no, I don't think it's going to see anything. I think it's going to be sold off at fractions of pennies in bulk, and that's where it's going to sit. I
can see that. The only reason I thought is like turn 3. If you're playing certain like prison or big mana decks, right? You go turn 3 Worn Power Stone, turn 4. You can go like 6 mana, but you're right. It's not that great.
Yeah, I don't think it's that good.
Okay, yeah, D. I can see a D.
Drownyard Lurker, 7 mana, Eldrazi Trilobite. Is that even a current creature type? Did we just make up a new creature type so we can slam Eldrazi in front of it? It's a common 7/7 vigilance. When you cast Recycle the Lurker, so it's like the green one. It's just a 7/7 vigilance. Yeah, it's so we're probably going to see a cycle of these, where you're, cycling for, 2 colorless and whatever the base color is, and then you get a spawn token and you get a draw card. Yeah, again maybe in Pauper, good limited. I mean, it's just put it in the D and go with it.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is 100% just a limited card. It's an Eldrazi with another type that I'm surprised about, and I hope you're having fun. That's pretty much it. 7/7 violence, not too bad. Yep. Deserted Temple. So I tried to brew around this card, right? Deserted Temple reads, Deserted Temple is a land, it taps for colorless, and for 1 colorless and activate it, you can untap target land. Now, this is an old card, it got reprinted into Modern recently, very similar to stuff like Tower and all that stuff. I can see it doing things, but not broken things. But I'm excited that it's got reprinted because I bought this for like Legacy and I tried to play it in like Cloudpost as a one-off toolbox card. It didn't do great, but it was fun to play with. It sometimes it did something, sometimes it didn't. For me, I want this to be a B, probably a C, just for the sake of Modern. Even Legacy, it already exists. It's a really low B.
Yeah, instantly what I think about when I see cards like this where they untap target land is it has to be a utility land. Like if you're just going to untap an Urza's Tower, it doesn't deserve a slot.
Yep.
If you're going to untap a Nykthos, then let's go with that because we've already seen in Pioneer how powerful continually untapping Nykthos is. But I don't know what the utility lands in Modern that this is going to affect. So, I mean, it's, the only thing that I think it would be good in would be, or even recommended, as a possible one would be Amulet Titan. But I think every land that they have is just a better slot. They don't need to untap target lands because they gotta do all their other stuff anyhow. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's gonna be a C.
I agree. See, it's kind of nice that they have it reprinted as well. Whew, okay, there you
Oh,
go.
Phyrexian Tower. Yeah, no. I mean, it's gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be a solid B. I don't know if it's gonna be an A card. But it's definitely a solid B. It's a good utility one. It, mana ramps. You already have mono black decks that deal with this kind of stuff. And the funny thing is if you're not concerned about your army token from Orcish Bowmaster, you can always just sack your army token and then make your additional mana for it. Yeah. So, I mean,
1 second.
Maybe as a one of in Yawgmoth.
Right. I think Yawgmoth has been playing it. 1 second. So for the people listening on the podcast here, Phyrexian Tower reads legendary land. It's a colorless. It can tap for colorless. And it can sack a creature and add double black. So that's for people wanting to know what Phyrexian.
Oh, I didn't even read the card.
I was like, yeah. Some people want to know.
We're just jumping into it. Just right to the criticism.
It's a very popular card in older formats, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, you're right. So I think people are trying it in Yogg, like a 1 or 2, right? Just because you want it to sack creatures anyway. Sometimes if people try to solitude a creature, you can sack in response and make some mana and flash in a Bowmaster or whatever. But like it has a little bit more utility than it adds value. Try to make you build around it. So I think people are playing on 1. I saw Dingo playing on the weekend about a 1 or 2 in his deck.
Yeah, it's just awkward because you can't play it on turn 1 because you don't get to cast anything, right?
Yep.
You can't play it. I mean, you have the ability to cast it on turn 2, but you're not really taking a whole lot of effect of it because you're eating your turn 1 play.
Well, what they do is they go turn 1 Young Wolf, turn 2 Yawgmoth.
See, that makes sense, right? Because then you get to do a turn 3.
Wait,
oh no, you just get to do
turn 3 Yawgmoth. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, turn 3 Yawgmoth, right?
Yeah.
So you have the ability to get there, right? So you could play a second Young Wolf on turn 2. And then turn 3 do that. So it does give you that additional ramp, but I just don't know if it's again good enough in some of these modern decks to where it's going to be like a slammed 4 of, especially being a legendary land. Yeah, I think I'd pick up a copy, but other than that, I wouldn't try to do anything to build around it unless we can find a land that we can pay 1 and then untap it.
Yeah, I mean, people can do it with dorks, right? They can go turn 1, ignoble the Hierarch, right? And then turn 2, tap the Hierarch, sack the Hierarch, tap your other green.
Okay, yeah.
Turn 2 Yawgmoth. So I think I'm happy that it reprinted in a modern, all right? More copies, more better, all right? In great English there. But I think this could be sitting in B, just because I'm happy that it exists and certain decks can take advantage of it in the existing archetypes. But overall, it has power. It's not powerful because you have to lose a creature, right? But certain decks can work with it.
Yeah, no, I think B is right where it needs to be. I think the decks where it fits, it's going to fit really well.
Yep.
So just additional puzzle piece that just fits right in.
This is just a plains. I included a plains, a full out plains. If you didn't know, chat, the full out basic lands have Eldrazi's painted into the land. So feel free to take some time and enjoy the full art basic.
Okay, so your Eldrazi full art island, right? S tier. It's just S tier.
Look at that swamp. That looks like Emrakul, right? Swamp
that's 100% Emrakul. Yeah, that's a flying spaghetti monster. There's Ulamog.
There's a little more, yep. The basics look, to be honest. Like, I don't know if I'll be chasing them, getting them, but they look like Kozilek. Yeah,
yep.
Nice.
Kozilek back on the green one.
Full art, snow-covered wastes are back. Full art wastes is really... All right, go ahead. You're me to read this one, or you want to go read it?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, I've gone ahead and chosen the nice artwork. This is Echoes of Eternity. It's 3 and then 3 colorless. Waste, and Kindred Eldrazi Enchantment. All right, Kindred Enchantment of Eldrazi. If a triggered ability of a colorless source you control or another colorless permanent you control triggers, that triggers an additional time. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for this copy. Now, when I first saw this, I was very happy that it was a Kindred enchantment, right? It means obviously we can reduce it by Eye of Ugin. We can use Eldrazi Temple to fulfill the colorless waste part. Playing with it now, though, this 100% reads win more. It is 100% a win more card, right? Seems extremely fun in Commander. All right, super fun. I feel like this card it's fringe playable if you really want to go and have lots of fun in Constructed, but in Commander, it is it's a casual fun card, and the artwork is beautiful. I love the creepy hands coming out of the what are they called? What are those things? The hedgehogs, right? But this card is just, yes, I guess you can cast Ulamog and exile 4 permanent. You can cast a Thoughtseize, right? And take 2 cards, right? And you actually get 2 Thoughtseizes. You get 2 Ulamogs, which is all good. It's a win more card. It's fun. It's 6 mana, and I'm glad they made it a Kindred.
I think everything you said is completely right. I agree with wholeheartedly. I saw it. I was excited about it, and then I was just like, how like true, like casting 2 Reality Smashers off of this thing seems really fun. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't think that more than Commander is it's going to be like a really good inclusion into it. It's taking spots of things that actively do something, and it doesn't actively do anything. I mean, Panharmonicon is a great card,
right,
and it's super fun.
Yep.
But how many decks? And I'm sorry for for saying this, but how many decks are Panharmonicon decks? Like,
right.
There's just
it's a Saffron Olives kind of thing. Like, you want to have fun, right?
Yeah.
Like, this kind of videos.
I'm sorry, Seth. We love Panharmonicon effects, but there's just no way that it's going to make a big breakout being that kind of effect.
Right. Now, like, see, it's like, Geoff, do you want Echoes of Eternity in play, or do you want a Endbringer? It's like
Endbringer. Like, at 6 mana, like, I'd rather just have a Wormcoil, right?
Yeah, right. But I must say, I'm definitely gonna pick up one of these just for the memes, for the lols, right? And I'm just gonna probably play it in my singleton, Eldrazi deck for funsies. Like, this is, if you want to have fun, you have to have this card. It's just 100%.
Yeah.
It just yells fun.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. Like, you play this and you just play a whole bunch, because it's triggered abilities too, right?
Yeah,
so Matter Reshaper, that's an on-death triggered ability, so you get to do that twice. Like, you get to have a lot of fun, but I think playing this card is more net negative competitively than it is net positive.
This card also looks hilariously fun in limited.
Oh yeah. How many Eldrazi spawns do I make now?
Yeah, right. Draw 4 cards from the Null Drifter, right? I'm putting this as a C because it's got a lot of fun aspect, and I love that they did it.
Definitely C. Pick up a copy, but yeah, don't get too wrapped up in trying to make it work.
You go ahead.
Oh, Uggin's Binding, and we got beautiful art on this one. We have the extended frame, awesome. Like, it just looks amazing when you're looking through into it, and everything's like going into Uggin's eye, which is just that's got to be a throw to it, right? Like, this is what you're going to use this card with. It's 2 to blue, instant. It's one of your chase mythics. I think it really spiked early on. I think it was a fairly cheap card, but it reminds me of Kozilek's Return. You remember that one?
And what else does it do?
Instant, devoid, return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. Perfect. 3 mana.
Bounce something.
Just bounce something, right? As long as it's not a land, you're good. It goes back to your hand. But on the other side of it is when you cast a colorless spell with mana value 7 or greater, you may exile Uggin's Binding from your graveyard. When you do, return each non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. They just made Cyclonic Rift better.
Yeah, I mean, they needed to reprint it, right? Because it keeps, every time they reprint it, it keeps going up in price again and again and again, right? So they're like, there's a way we can make another Cyclonic Ring. Why can't we just print more versions of it, right?
Yeah. No, this is an insane card. I think it's a great card in any blue base big mana deck where you get to cast those 7 things, because it does exactly what we want to do. Slow down the game, make them play at our pace.
Yep.
It's Cyclonic Rift, which is crazy. I mean, back when Kozilek's Return was a thing.
Yep.
Decks were playing 2, 3, 4 copies of it because it was just that good. You just get to go, okay, like, solve a problem, solve all the problems. And this is exactly what this does. I think it's going to be a staple in multiple formats.
Now, I'm excited for this card in decks like 8 casts, right? Like, in Legacy, you have, like, in Affinity Legacy, right? You have cards like Mew Enforcer or the new Frog Enforcer, right? Like, we have 7 mana colorless cards that can trigger this, and you can be like, end step, bounce your Collect Oof, right? Or bounce your threat, and then just like rift this. Hey, Dukes, thank you for the raid. I appreciate it, my man, my dude. Thank you. Dukes is one of the most, I think he is the most famous Legacy streamer for he plays Maverick. He owns Green Sun Center. So thank you for the raid, Dukes. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Dukes. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Happy everybody's joining us.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you, Duke. So Also, what are your thoughts around this card? I think, by the way, I actually think this could be a pretty strong could be an A, but S on the edge of S and A. But I would love to hear your thoughts around people talking about just discarding this card to like in control decks, right? You can just discard this control decks and then like maybe trigger it later.
Yeah, I mean you can discard it. You're gonna have to. Oh, we got another. Was that part of the raid?
That's the raid noise. Yeah.
Okay, that's the raid noise, which I appreciate the FF7 victory music there, right? So.
Yep.
No, I think it's gonna be an A. I mean, discarding it, like, why would you want to discard the card? Like, it just bounces a problem.
Yeah,
like, I don't think you ever really want to discard the card, right? It's just it's a 3-mana removal spell, and its upside is I get to attach it to any large thing that I cast.
Yep. And chat saying synthesizer is also legal, right? Synthesizer is in standard. So the fact that synthesizer is incentivizing people to, cast big mana, like, immune forces or like whatever 7 mana, and then you make 4/4s, and then you just bounce everything. So the fact you're making constructs and then you bounce everything, it's amazing. I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think the affinity lists are really going to take advantage of this. And the only reason that I'm putting it as A is because of the fact that you have to have the blue requirement.
Yep.
To get most of the value of it, because one of the rules that I follow when I look at cards specifically into decks is, can I play every aspect of this card?
Yeah, right.
If I can only play half the card, then why do I want to put it in my deck if I only get half the value out of the card?
100%.
And to get the full value, you have to play blue. So I think it's locked into blue, but I think it's one of the strongest A's that you can get.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I don't think it sits in S. I agree with your opinion there, and I don't think it can't, because it's not like extremely powerful. But one thing I want to note, Geoff, that is amazing is that it's not double blue, right? If it was double blue, it's unplayable in Eldrazi, like, or any colorless deck, right? But the fact that it's single blue pip and 2 colorless, and to void can't be red elemental blast, right? It's just, I think it can. If it was 2 mana, if it was 2 mana and then flashback, it's just broken.
Yeah.
But for 3 mana, I think they built this card really well. But yeah, Chase Mythic, I think strong A.
Yep, strong A. They did a perfect job on this card.
Oh, we see this one. This is just a cool artwork. I included this.
Oh, the cool artwork.
I was like, this card is just beautiful. I'm just gonna include it. But look at that fungus. It is creeping into the text box. Beautiful.
The art on these cards, I'm really glad they did the extended art. They started doing that because a lot of these cards are really cool with the extended art.
Right.
Like they took the theory of all these, all the card alters that people do, and they just looked at it and they were like, hey, like, why aren't we doing this, right?
Yeah,
like, why aren't we making these versions of these cards? And I think they're great. I think they're beautiful. I think the artists are doing a great job on them.
Yep.
And it definitely gives them some more room to play with and a little bit more, space that they can, they don't have to fit everything in this little box anymore. They can kind of extend out around it and incorporate the rest of the card mechanics around what it does. Yeah, they're great. I like you putting these in.
Yeah, for people listening on the podcast, we're talking about Sowing Spawn, the full art, extended art version. It looks extremely sweet. Definitely check it out. Honestly, some of the full art extended versions, if you look at the finance market, some of them actually have been cheaper than the original. I don't know why, but always compare, do your maths, do your due diligence, but some of the full arts have actually been the same price or even cheaper, and pick up some of them. They're really nice, right? They're really beautiful. Yes, I've included the full art Ugin's Labyrinth here. I don't know if you prefer the original or the full art, Geoff, but I prefer the original. But the full art looks beautiful.
I think the original is a little bit more what I prefer.
But it looks nice, I must say.
The full art one or the extended art one is great.
Oh, we haven't came across this card, have
we? We haven't even looked at this one yet. Yeah.
You want to read it? Go ahead.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, it's Emrakul, The World Anew. Alright, this got spoiled very early in the spoiler season. It's a 12 mana, 12/12 Eldrazi. I think this is actually the hero card of the whole set. Right, Emrakul, A World Anew, 12 mana, 12/12. When you cast this spell, gain control of all creatures target player controls. Right, it's a cast trigger. Hilarious. Flying, protection from spells, and a permanence that will cast this turn. Go away, Solitude. When Emrakul, The World Anew, leaves the battlefield, sacrifice all creatures you control. Pay 6 colorless. Now, I have a lot of things about this. I have a lot of opinions about this card, right? For starters, it's a cast trigger to gain all, creatures that your target player controls. So you can cast it. If it gets countered, you still take all their creatures. Flying, protection from spells and permanents. So you can cast it and You know, it's not a you know, Emrakul, Aeon's Torn where like you get an extra turn, but you get to have protection from spells and permanents for this exit at this turn, at least anyway, right? So she gets to sit around for at least a turn. And when it leaves, you sacrifice all creatures you control. Now, I'm excited for this because I play Prison and don't really have creatures apart from constructs, so I don't care. Yeah, I can sack all my creatures, I don't care. And then Madness pays 6 waste, right? Now 6 colorless. Now the thing I love about this waste and Madness thing is that not many people are gonna trigger this, but for me, I play Underworld Cook. So if you have Tron 7 mana in Modern, you play Cookbook, you sack this. At instant speed, you can cast the Madness Emrakul, right? So that's just, oh wow, I'm like creaming right here. I love everything about this card, and I've picked up a retro version. We're looking at the full art, extended art version now, but I love the retro version. I love everything about this card. Jeff, take it.
It's perfect. Immediately when I'm looking at this, I go, hey, how many Urza Sagas does it take to get cookbooks?
Right.
Like, you just go get cookbooks, you know, and then you just get a discard and take your opponent's whole board. It works even with the One Ring, right? Because you can overdraw with the One Ring, go to your end step, and then during cleanup step, you're like, discard Emrakul, pay it, madness it in, steal your board. What are you going to do about it, right? Like, it's just, the card's nuts. The card's absolutely nuts. You're probably not going to play it unless you're specifically playing to that line. I don't think you're going to play more than a 1-0, because it is 12 mana. It's pretty much uncastable on its own in a majority of the decks. But if you center it around, hey, this is what I'm going to do, this is going to be fantastic. And it's going to create some hilarious situations to where your opponent has a lethal on board, and you're like, oh no, and they go to combat, and you're like, steal your whole board.
I know this is not too relevant, but it's possible that the fact that it's a 12/12 and has protection, you know, and all that stuff, but it doesn't have the shuffle trigger, right? So you can somehow, if you just accidentally get this Thoughtseize, turn 1 and all that, and he goes in the graveyard, you can somehow like animate dead it or like reanimate it later, right?
Oh yeah. 100%.
I guess animate dead doesn't work.
Vengeance.
I think animate dead doesn't work because it like it has protection from permanence. It's animate dead would not work. It would fall off. But yes, you're right. Gorill's Vengeance.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. That's a good question, because if it has protection from permanence, right? Animate dead. Does that have to stay on it?
Correct.
For it to be on the battlefield?
Correct. It would just fall off, I think. So,
okay, yeah, I think...
If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching on the YouTube chat and audience, if you're watching this YouTube, comment down below. Let me know if Animate Dead works with this card. I have a feeling it does not, because it has protection from spells that will cast this turn, so that it will come in and then falls off, and then it just goes back to the graveyard.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not sure. I don't know. Let me know in chat. Let me know in the comments.
Because it enchants it in the graveyard, right?
Correct. Let's go ahead and look up.
And then it breaks. I don't know.
I'm gonna look up Animate Dead here on chat.
They haven't reprinted Animate Dead into Modern, so I'm always weak on that.
When Animate Dead enters the battlefield, if it's on the battlefield, it loses enchant creature in the graveyard and gains enchant creature put in the battlefield with Animate Dead. Return enchanted creature card to the battlefield under your control and attach Animate Dead to it. When Animate Dead leaves the battlefield. Wait, hold on. But it wasn't cast.
Okay. No, it wasn't cast, so it doesn't steal. So the best thing you're going to get is a 11/12 that sacrifices all your creatures when it dies.
It's in the graveyard turn 1 because it gets Thoughtseize. Turn 2, you animate Dead, and then you just sack all your creatures.
You have an 11/12.
No, I don't know.
You just have an 11/12.
I'm not sure.
I guess I don't know.
All right, what do you put this as? I'm putting this as S.
I mean, as what? What are you going with?
I'm putting this as S.
I'm going to put it as S because I think in every deck that is going to play this, it's going to be amazing.
Yes, if you can reach
there's just no way around it.
It's so good. Right.
Yeah.
I agree. It's mostly the game control. The cast trigger is amazing for me.
Yeah, the game control, and it's not even while it's still on the battlefield, right?
Right.
It's just like if you bounce it back to your hand, that you still have control of all their things.
True. I think it has protection though, doesn't it? Doesn't it have protection from Caracas if someone tries to Caracas it? Oh no, Caracas is not cast, so yeah, you can Caracas.
Yeah, from spells and from permanents that were cast this turn. So yeah, you can Caracas it all day long.
Yep.
You could 7 mana, cookbook it, discard it, madness it, steal your opponent's board, Caracas it back to your hand, and go play something else. Like
that's so true. All right, so this is the full art of Kozilek the Broken Reality. Kozilek looks like a crab as usual. Looks very beautiful. The artwork looks nice. Not my kind of flavor, not my style of artworks that I like here for Kozilek the Broken Reality. But do you like this, Jeff?
I mean, you said crab. I think it immediately looks like a cricket.
Okay,
It
yeah,
looks like
it's quite tall.
a big giant cricket with no head.
Yep. And you got Ulamog the Defiler. I think the artwork
I
looks
actually
cool.
like this one.
You like this one because of the back half or the front half?
I do. It looks kind of like very like horror genre esque,
Yeah.
and I think it just looks kind of cool. Yeah.
I agree. I love the I appreciate the full art stuff and like standard art stuff. So I like this one more than Kozilek. Kozilek looks a little bit creepy for me, but yeah, I agree. Yeah, and then we have the retro version of Emrakul. I love this. I'm the biggest sucker for retro, folks. If you want to impress me with your binder, show me retro cards, and I will be very excited. I love retro cards. I love that they started doing it, and then this set came out, and I was helping crack a box for my friend. I'm like, no, there's just more retro cards coming out. I'm so sad. Oh man, because I'm gonna be broke. That's why. All right. Oh, we haven't seen this one yet.
This is actually one that I picked up a couple of copies of the retro bordered foils at pre-release yesterday. It's that heralds the end. It's a 1 and a colorless creature Eldrazi drone. It's an uncommon 2/2, so it fits real well in that 2/2 slot.
Yep.
Colorless spells you cast with mana value 7 or greater cost 1 less to cast. So it's already going to reduce all your big payoffs.
All is Emrakul.
All is Dust.
Card the Great Creator. No, sorry.
Yeah,
Card Liberated. Sorry.
Card Liberated, yeah, because it has to be 7 or greater, right?
Yep.
Other colorless creatures you control get +1/+1. We have a 2-mana Eldrazi Lord.
It's such a big deal for me, and it's also cast off Temple, right? You just go turn 1 Temple, turn 2 something, and everything is getting buffed.
Yep, 100%, 100%. No, this card, I think in every Eldrazi list, I think this thing's going to be just slammed as a 4/0. That's going to be your 2-drop, boom, or your 1-drop from Temple, right? Like, I think it's great. I think it's going in every one. I don't think it's going to change. Because the only thing better than casting a 5/5 hasty trampling reality smasher is a 6/6 or a 7/7.
Right. And yeah, confidently, I'm actually very confident this is A.
This is I mean I would honestly, if you're talking about the Eldrazi list, I think I just slam it right in S. I think
push
it's
it in
automatically
S?
a 4
Yeah.
of.
The fact
I think it's automatically a 4 of.
Yep.
And
I can see it being an S, just because like the colors reduction is just icing on top. The fact that it's a 2-mana 2/2 in a Lord, I was like, we have finally come parity with like Lord of Atlantis, kind of, right?
Yeah, we have. I mean, it's not like we were having problems before fighting, but this just does exactly what we want to do, which is put more pressure on our opponents. Like a 4/4 Thought-Knot Seer is hard to deal with, but they can deal with it.
Yeah, they just
right. Like you have, you have Kavus that are coming in at 5/5 on turn 2 thanks to Leyline.
Yeah.
And now you get to play, 5/5 Thought-Knot Seers. You get to play, 4/3 or 6/6's Reality Smashers.
Yep.
Like you can just start fighting back against some of this stuff. And at worst, it's a 2-mana blocker for Ragavan.
Yeah, right. I mean, I am living in Christmas land where I keep talking about Temple turn 1, you can play this, right? But when have you ever seen a Lord of Atlantis come in at turn 1, right? When have you ever seen a Lord come in turn 1? We can have the possibility of doing that. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we have this is, I think this is great. I think it's going to be, this is your staple. Pick up your copies now. They're going to be hard to find later.
And it comes in retro. So make sure you get retro. If you don't get retro, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, I picked up 2 of my retro foils.
Yep. Oh, we have here a retro Kozilek the Broken Reality. I'm not too high on this artwork, but it is retro and it looks very nice. I'm just gonna say, it's okay.
I think it's the retro ones are generally good. Some of them miss, but yeah.
We have a retro Null Elemental Blast. I think I prefer this one, even though it's a kind of bland. I do like their not attempt. I do like that they respected that they needed to make a bunch of retros, and I respect that. I like this as a retro. What are your thoughts about it?
I think it's good as a retro. I think I would pick up this one over the original.
Yeah, I agree. I love Null Elemental Blast. I think it's going to be a card that kind of lives on my sideboard all the time for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to. Next we have a retro Null Drifter. It doesn't have all the reminder text on there, so it's just kind of like, here are a bunch of words.
Yeah, I mean, the upside is they're never going to be able to print textless versions of any of these cards.
Yeah, right.
Because
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's just never going to happen. There's too much text on most of these cards that it's not like deal 3 damage to any target, right?
Yep, I love this. I do like this, and I actually did find a few retros recently.
Good.
Retro Ulamog the Defiler. Personally, myself, I don't love the artwork on this particular card. So then the retro doesn't really add too much to it, but it's kind of nice. I think I ended up picking up the retro anyway, just because I wanted them to. But you know, I'm glad it exists. You know, not a must-have for me. I'm glad it exists. What are your thoughts?
I think giving the option for art cards like these are great. I mean, you could do most of a deck in retro art at this point, and it'd look pretty good together. But yeah, I'm not a
Not going out of your way to get this.
fan of this one. Yeah, I'm not. I'm picking up, you know, maybe the full art one or the extended art one or the original one.
Yep.
Over this one, but I like the card. I do.
Yep. Echoes of Eternity. Yeah, this is just the regular version. I don't know why I included this in here since the other one's way better. But you know, this looks like a creepy hand, but I still like the other one better. But yeah, this is just cool. I included this because one. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and explain the card to everyone here. Toxic Deluge is in Modern. It is a black and 2 colorless sorcery that says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, pay X life. All creatures get X -X until turn. Now, 1, I'm excited that Toxic Deluge is in Modern. 2, they reprinted it into Retro, which is, I'm a big sucker for retro cards. And 3, I don't know how this works, but I was like, potentially can Eldrazi play Toxic Deluge in the sideboard to deal with weenie decks, but I don't think we even care about that.
I think we just run them over, right? I think your Mono Black Coffers deck is going to eat this up.
100%.
This is going to be their board wipe, right? But other than that, I can't see it being played outside Mono Black Coffers.
I mean, the fact that they have access to a 3-mana board wipe, that is actually really good, right? Because I think before you can have other random, like, you know, -2/-2. Now it's just pay X life. I mean,
yeah.
They have the black, what's that black sorcery that like gains them a bunch of life and then you repeat it X times or whatever? Invoke Despair, right? They have Invoke Despair.
Yeah, they have Invoke Despair. I've seen Torment of Hailfire being tossed around in a couple of lists, which gain a bunch of life. But they are a control deck, right? So their life is a resource, and this is just, you know, is it worth it for them to pay 3 mana and a portion of their resource life to clean up the board so they can maintain control over it? I think it's you know, not a 4 of, maybe a 2 of, third one on the sideboard.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
I think
it's good.
I think that's gonna be where it is.
We get
the
retro snow covered waste. It looks nice. I don't know if I love it, but I'm glad that it exists.
Yeah, I like the full art ones better.
Yeah, same. I'm exactly the same. Like, I love retro, and then when I saw this, I was like, I'm just gonna go full art. Chat says, I would love to hear your thoughts on mutated cultist. Oh wait, we haven't seen this card yet.
Eldrazi Ravager, 5 and a colorless creature. Eldrazi, uncommon 6/6, Annihilator 1, which is interesting on an uncommon 6/6 at 6 mana. Sacrifice 2 Eldrazi, return Eldrazi Ravager from your graveyard to your hand, and then you get cycling for 2 colorless, you know, generic mana. I think it's good. It's not great. The Annihilator 1, I don't think is enough, right? But you can't put Annihilator 2 on a 6-mana 6/6.
Yeah, no, true, yeah.
And then sacrificing 2 Eldrazi to return Eldrazi Ravager from your graveyard to your hand. Like, why isn't it to the battlefield?
No, because that's just too strong. Like, I feel like
you could just say non-token Eldrazi, right?
True, yeah.
Sacrifice 2 non-token Eldrazi and then return it, you know, from your graveyard. So you're actually sacrificing value to get it back.
Maybe return it tapped or something. I don't know, but I agree.
Yeah, return it tapped, something like that. I think it's I think it's a limited card. I don't think there's a good slot in anything outside maybe Commander playable.
Yeah, right.
But
yeah, I agree. I feel like this is not a limited bomb, but it's just a good limited slot filler, right, for 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So to me, I can see this as a strong D. Like, it's a limited card. I don't think I'd ever play constructed playable. I don't think you'd even want to cycle this for Living End. Maybe if it's a cycling 1, I would play it I'd consider it for Living End, but there's already better cycle. But yeah, for me, this is just a strong D.
Strong D. I don't think that there's anything special about it.
6 mana 6/6. I mean, you already have some other Eldrazi's that are already better than that, right?
Yeah. 4 mana 6/6. Like, yeah.
I'd like to read this card out. I'd love to hear your opinions on this. This card is Consigned to Memory. It's a single blue instant spell with Replicate, which you can pay an extra colorless to keep copying the spell. And it reads, counter target triggered ability or colorless spell. Now, I'm just gonna dart out a few things here, Jeff, that this card does. It counters Ulamog and its cast trigger for 2 mana. It is finally stifle. You can stifle Lotus Field. You can stifle fetch land. Right, because it says triggered. No, wait, it says triggered, not activated, right? Yeah, so
fetch lands are out of it.
First lands are out, but Lotus Field, yes.
You can so you can do Lotus Field, right? But you have to be playing the Lotus Field.
Right. Yeah, of course. You don't want to stifle your opponent's Lotus Field. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, like I think it's got ability or colorless spell. Like this might land in some blue-white control lists, because I know the blue-white control lists are playing things like, they're playing Lotus Fields. I know they're doing it in Pioneer. I don't know, maybe in Modern. I don't. Oh yeah, because they're playing the end the turn, right? The discount. No, because that's still Pioneer.
Yeah. No, but this also reads counter target. Because
counter target One Ring.
Like, I feel like what are some Khan the Great Creator is kind of really annoying for control decks, right? Like, this is definitely a blue card, right? It's a sideboard card. I don't think you're playing in the main, but it's a card that like certain blue decks just really hate. They're already playing Ceremonious Rejection in certain decks in the side for now. So when Modern Horizons 3 comes out, this is definitely going to potentially take a slot, because you don't. It's like it's better. It's just a better rejection, right? Ceremonious Rejection just says a counter target color spell, so it's a strict upgrade. You can have because wizards love like flexibility.
Like, isn't it just better than a null, right? Isn't it just a powered up null?
I know it says enchantment and artifact, doesn't it?
Yeah, enchantment artifact, but I mean, most of what you're playing is going to be, is going to be artifacts in Modern, right? Like your big threats are going to be generally artifacts, and all your artifacts are pretty much going to be colorless.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I
think triggered ability.
Yeah, true. I think this is one of those cards that I'm going to slot into a B, right? Because you will see this card you'll see these cards in certain decks. But like if I said to you Consign a Memory, you'll be like, oh, I think I semi remember. I kind of know what that card does because it's relevant, right? It's not a staple, but it's.
I think it affects Urza Saga.
Oh, right. I never thought about that. Yeah,
I think you get a counter the Urza Saga search effect.
Yes, and even make a construct if it comes to that, right? So that's actually a good point. I didn't even think about that. No, wait, sorry. The construct is an activated ability, not a triggered ability. My fault.
Yeah, the search effect.
Search effect. Yep. Gotcha.
Yeah, the search effect, right?
Yeah. I'll slot this. What do you reckon? B or C? B?
I think it's. Yeah, I mean, I'd put it closer to a C, and I think it's just because it's going to be played in a couple of, and it depends on where the meta shakes out. Like if Merfolk come out really strong, like I could see any blue deck playing this as, against Vile, stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
Anything that does that. I mean, what it does actually affect is it affects Besage.
Right. Yeah.
Because isn't that the triggered ability?
That's activated.
Or no, because that's an activated ability too, right?
It does stop turn.
Yeah, no, I don't.
It does stop Scion. Oh, hey, Richard. It's congrats, by the way. It does stop Scion or Draco on the draw.
Yeah,
but like rejection.
Yeah, I think I'm sitting at C. I think it's going to be a sideboard card if that.
Yeah,
it looks cool, and I like the replicate cost. But we have our 5K SCG Open Pioneer winner in the chat.
Yeah. Congrats.
Yeah, our mono green Stompy brother.
I mean, I play a lot of. All right. I didn't think I've seen this card before. Do you want to read it or me? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's Corrupted Shapeshifter. It's 3 green, 1 blue.
Three
Eldrazi shape.
3 to blue.
Or 3 green. It's a long day. Yeah, it's 3 to blue. Creature Eldrazi Shapeshifter. It's a common. It's a devoid as most of the Eldrazi are. But you get some choices here, which are kind of cool. You get as Corrupted Shapeshifter enters the battlefield, it becomes your choice of a 3/3 creature with flying, a 2/5 creature with vigilance, or a 0/12 creature with defender.
Whoa! Okay, I didn't read that part. Okay, okay.
Yeah, so like at 4 mana, like you just get to play Big Butt Eldrazi. Like, is that a thing that you get to do now? Just like a bunch of 0/12s?
I guess it like helps with like those big butt decks, but 2/5 vigilance for 4. I don't know if that, 3/3 for flying. I guess it's in blue, you can shapeshift. For me, this is just a flexible limited card, and I appreciate the flavor. That's it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think I've ever seen any of these kind of like variant cards where you get to pick kind of what card they come in as. Come in as a 0/12.
Yep.
Like that is just
that's
just something I've never seen before, and it's here 0/12. Like, how do you get through that? in in a lot of stuff. Like you have to like hard removal it, but I think you're right. I think it's a good slot filler at 4 mana to where you can make it aggressive as a 3/3 flyer.
Yep.
Or you can just be like, oh, like that's a really big 6/6 trampler you have. Like here's my 0/12. Like now you can't do anything. So yeah, I think it's in D. I think it's going to be a limited card, and we're not going to see it in competitive or constructed at all.
I agree. And 3/3 flyers sometimes can win games, but like if you're paying 4 mana for it, yeah, limited is like kind of where it lives there. Depth Defiler. It's a blue and 5 mana Eldrazi for 3/5. It has Devoid and Kicker for a single colorless. When you cast this spell, choose one. If it was Kick, choose both instead. So you already get one mode for 5 mana, but if you kick it, you get both. And the modes are return target creature to its own hand. So it's like it bounces a creature, not an opponent's creature, just it returns a creature to its hand, and then target player draws 2 cards and discards a card. So you most likely are targeting yourself and bouncing a opponent's creature for 6 mana, right? And it has the flexibility. But also for 5 mana, 3/5, you can just draw 2, discard a card for 5 mana. Like you not even kick it, So it's a 5 mana, 3/5. You can draw 2 and discard it. That's probably like at its worst.
I don't know. The double blue is the thing that kills me on this card.
Yes. Double blue and it's Devoid. Right? I don't know if Devoid matters too much, but yeah, double blue is a lot. But it's also because it's got a what is that? What's that effect called when you draw 2 and discard a card?
When you draw 2 and discard a card?
Yeah. Maybe chat will know. It's
draw 2 and discard a card. I mean the like, draw 1 and discard a card is loot, right?
Yeah. So it's like it's not faithless looting, but it's kind of like a not frantic search. Something. There's like the professor. He's like holding books and stuff. I don't know, but yeah, there's the fact of like drawing 2 and discarding card, it's kind of nice. You can just discard a random or draw like random thing that's not relevant at the moment, and you get a 3/5, right? The fact that it's a 3/5, not a 3/4, not a like 3/3 for 5, I feel like it's. I don't think it's a D, or maybe it's even just a strong D. For like it has. I think the fact that it draw cards already gives it advantage, but it's just 5.
Yeah. I think it's better. Like a 3/5. If this was going to be playable in constructed, it would have to have flying. I think that's what would make the difference.
Yep.
The fact that it doesn't, I think we're in really good limited territory where I think it's a really good limited card, but not something that I'm interested in for any constructed format.
Okay. In that point, I can agree with you and then say that it's probably just because you can return a card, like you return a creature, like you just bounce a creature, like hey, get you out of the way, I'll attack with my other limited Eldrazi's. Oh, we just have the regular version of Emrakul Award new for the next card here. In case you want to know what it looks like, I mean, I've been looking at retros and alternative arts. There's like a million versions of certain cards these days. I have to remind myself what a regular card looks like.
Yeah, that's something that I'm kind of like disappointed with. It's just like there's so many versions of cards now. It just I like the option, but it kind of like loses the special aspect of it of like I got this in foil, right? Versus the regular ones. But
all right. We have Emrakul's Messenger. It's a blue and a colorless Eldrazi Fairy Rogue Devoid creature. It's a 2/1 for 2 with flying. When you draw your second card each turn, create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token with this. At its worst, it's a 2 mana 2/1 with right. That's not too bad, right?
Sure.
I think in the limited shell environment, cool. I'm happy to draft this card. It's a 2 mana 2/1 flying. And if I draw my second card for somehow reason in my Eldrazi deck, I get to make a ramp. I get to make an 0/1. I wish it was a 1/1. I wish if you drew a second card, you can make a 1/1, but no, it's a 0/1 Eldrazi spawn. This is a strong D for me. I'm happy to draft a 2/1 flying 2/1 or 2/1 2 mana.
I think you're exactly right. I would love to put this lower than a D based on the creature types alone.
Yeah, because you don't like fairy and rogues with an Eldrazi?
Like Eldrazi, fairy, and rogue. Like, we ran out of single creature types, and now we're going to just start mashing them together.
Yeah,
it's going to be a pirate goblin next.
Pirate goblin.
I appreciate them branching out a little bit, but it's like, we got to, there's too much text on it. Shorten it up a little bit. I think it's fine as a 2/1 flyer. It doesn't immediately come down and make the Eldrazi spawn like Sky Spawner did.
Right.
So I think it's powered down version of that.
Sky Spawner is 3 mana though, but like, okay, maybe people in the comments of the YouTube video can help correct me with this, since Jeff and I are not commander experts. But I believe that if it's devoid, you can play it in any deck. Is that?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think even with devoid, I think the color pips have to match.
Oh, they have to match
whatever your commander is. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think so. I'm not a commander player. Like, people hand me commander decks and then they get mad at me because I treat it like a competitive event, and I'm like, you're all dead. And they just, they don't like me to play commander.
Right. Yeah, this is a strong D for me, just because it's just a 2 mana 2/1 that has extra text.
Yeah.
I appreciate the flavor text as well. Obey her will. Don't be a fool. Submit your mind to everyone. Let me take this one.
Okay. So Hope Ender Quaddle. 2 colorless and a blue.
Yep.
It's an Eldrazi snake because we've gone through everything else. Uncommon. It has devoid because everything does. I think this is one of the very few Eldrazi that have flash, which can be a very important mechanic. When you cast this spell, counter target spell an opponent controls unless they play 1. So you get to flash in a 2 mana 2/2, right?
3 mana.
Or 3 mana 2/2. It's 2 mana for us, right? Because it's going to be Ayabugan in an island, or Eldrazi Temple in an island.
Right.
So in any deck he cares about it is 2, but it is the cost is 2 colorless and a blue, so 3 mana.
Yep.
And you get a mana tide somebody. I'm not hating this card. I don't know where the slot is for it, but I'd love to see this thing sit at a C until somebody finds a way to make this a useful card.
Yep.
And when it does, I'm all about it.
You're right. We actually don't see much flying creatures in Eldrazi, right? You got like Sky Spawner, you got...
Well, you don't see much flash creatures. Flying, you got a couple. But flash creatures, you don't, right?
You have, my pet card, Elder Deep Fiend with the merge. I love Elder Deep Fiend.
Yeah, but how many more are they?
Yeah, that's true. Oh, there was specific ones in the old Eldrazi set, but yeah, you're right. There's not much flash, especially not at this curve, right? It's like a 3 mana, kind of on the same curve as Dissolve, right? Or like the old counter spell, right? Counter target. I don't know. The old standard counter spells are like double blue sometimes.
Yeah, cancel and stuff like that. And even those are 2 blue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's right in your competitive curve, which is 3 and lower. It's got multiple abilities on it, and it has the ability to interact with your opponent on it. I think it's a really good card. I just don't know where it fits in right now.
Yep.
We do have a lot of blue support for Eldrazi, so maybe there's like a blue Eldrazi list where you're kind of like more mid-range,
like
and
tempo.
this fits well in that. Yeah, like a tempo Eldrazi list.
Yep.
If it's the other 2 mana Lord, I mean, it comes in as a 3/3, which is just better.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I think there's potential to this card, and I'd like to see where it goes until it gets built around. I think we're sitting in a C, but I could definitely move this up to a B. And if I think it hits a B, it's going to hit a hard B, and it's going to be like a 4 of index.
Do you think this could be a B if it wasn't a mana tithe and it was just straight counterspell?
If it was just straight counterspell, it'd be a B right now.
Yeah, right.
Because then Eldrazi gets to play counterspell.
Yeah, right. And it's just like a single blue counterspell as well, which is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, a single blue counterspell. That's great.
3. Yeah. Also, the fact that it's not like blue and a waste and a colorless, which means Ayavugan helps it kind of, right? Or like Temple, kind of helps. I mean, Temple always helps it, but yeah, I can see this as a C, but it's a low C. I
think it's really middle of the road.
Yeah, middle of the road.
Middle of the road C.
I guess the only reason it could probably bump up to like middle of the road C for me, or maybe even high end C, is because it's a trigger, right? It's not attached to the ETB. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, it's a cast trigger. I think it'd be a good idea for anybody looking at the Eldrazi lists to just pick up a play set of them and put them in your binder. Because if that list, I mean, what are they going to cost you? A nickel a piece, right? Yeah.
Kozilek's Unsealing. It's blue and 2 colorless enchantment. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 4, 5, or 6, create 2/01 Eldrazi spawns at sack 4 mana. When you cast a creature spell with mana value 7 or greater, draw 3 cards. Now, I think the second part of this card is not draw 3 to cast a 7 drop. I mean, maybe. Maybe you can draw some cards off some Mirror Forces. But interesting angle from it. I think this is a build around card for me. But what are your thoughts?
I think this is one of those things to where it's like immediately if you're on, if you have an Aya Ugin and you cast a Thought-Knot Seer, right? It costs you 2 mana. its mana value is 4.
Yep.
And it just replaces itself, right? So it's a free Thought Knot Seer.
Yep.
You know, it's essentially a 1-cost reality smasher. I think if you get value off the second half of the card, which is what is sticking for me as well, because I like to play the full card.
Yep.
It might be, you know, it might be a really good card, but right now, yeah, I think it's at a C. Again, it's an enchantment which doesn't do anything. You don't get to make the 2/0/1 Eldrazi spawns when it enters. Like you have to wait for the available mana to play something.
Right.
So it can slow you down. It's just, yeah, it's not hitting 100%.
Yep.
But it could be way better than I'm.
Yeah. I feel like
that I'm assuming. It just doesn't feel right.
I feel like this card, by the way, is low key. Like there's something good about this card, but I can't see it. Right?
Yeah.
It's one of those cards where you're like, there's something suspicious about this card because the fact that it deals 3, right? Like Synthesizer was undervalued and underestimated before people realized how broken like Affinity's type of shells, right? And this is on the same curve as Synthesizer. It doesn't die to Ugin Spirit Dragon minus, right? Because it's a void, and it makes you mana. I don't know. There's something about this. I'm just kind of like, can this card potentially work with Mystic Forge? Like I don't know where I'm going here, but I feel like something could happen, right? Because every time you cast a Thought Seer or something, you know, a creature spell, you know, off the Mystic Forge, then you're making extra tokens that you can just sack to cast box. So all you need in a mix here, if you're playing Commander or a Singleton format, all you need in the mix here is some sort of cost reduction, like maybe like a Anvil or like, you know, Urza's Incubator, right? Make all your deck whole Eldrazi. You have blue in there for some reason because you have other things, all right? Creature Eldrazi spells cost 2 less, right? And then you just like beep, 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 and go through the whole deck. I don't know what, but something could be happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it feels like something's off on it, right? Like it doesn't feel like, you know, I want to put 4 of these in my deck because I know exactly how to play around it.
Yep.
You know, or build around it where it's just it's designed for the builds that we already have. It just feels a little bit off center.
Yep.
And if it gets to center, it's going to be great, right? Like you were saying, Synthesizer, it was undervalued. And then all of a sudden it's a breakout card because it hit that dead center on what it needed to be. And this may be kind of the same thing.
Yep.
I just don't know what that is yet. And so just for that, I mean, I'm just going to put this in a C until it gets figured out. Yeah.
Yep. I think it's a C. It has potential to be a B, only because someone's going to break somewhere. Yeah. Maybe not in the formats that we play, maybe not in Modern or Legacy, but I feel like someone's going to break this somewhere, and it's going to it's not going to be a doubling season, but it's going to be kind of like a, I don't know, somewhere in some format, and people are like, oh, this is a card that you don't need, but it helps you. It's not a win more.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a win more. I think it's just a nice card to feel somewhere.
I think it's a support card for a game plan that you have.
Yep.
I don't think it's a win more card. I think it's an enabler. Petrifying Meddler, 4 and a blue. It's just a regular Eldrazi, so we're sticking with just the base vanilla version of it.
Yep.
Devoid, because it's the Eldrazi. When you cast this spell, tap up to 1 target creature and put a stun counter on it, and it's a 4/5 with reach for 5. I think it's limited. You know, it's good to get the tempo.
Yep.
You know, or solve a temporary problem on your opponent. As far as constructed, I think it's in the D pile, and we move on.
Do you know what annoys me about this card so much? This is the first time I've seen this card, is that this has reach and Ulamog doesn't. Why doesn't Ulamog
this is
have
way
reach?
smaller than Ulamog.
Why does Ulamog not have reach? Like, I think they just forgot, or there's just too much text on the card. But Ulamog needs justice for Ulamog.
Yeah. They could throw. I mean, do you remember the sneaky reach with Worldbreaker?
Yeah, right. No one.
Yeah, where like nobody realized it had reach at the beginning because it was just like right in the middle of all the text. They could have done that.
Okay, so we have come across to one of my favorite chase cards in the whole entire set. I am so high on this card. I'm gonna say it's an A before I even read it out. All right, and Jeff's gonna laugh. Glaring Flesh Raker. Glaring Flesh Raker. It is a colorless and 3 mana 2/2, and it's an Eldrazi drone. And it says when you cast a colorless, create an 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn token with sacrifices at a color. When another colorless creature enter the battlefield under your control, Glaring Flesh Raker deals 1 damage. So essentially, it's an uncommon card. It is a colorless Burgie, right? When you cast in colorless spells, right? Not not any color, just a colorless Burgie. When you cast color spells, you keep making 0/1 scions. Spawns, right? It pings the opponent for 1 damage every time a colorless creature, any colorless creature, token, non-code token, anything, and it just keeps pinging them. Now, to me, I know you might think I'm crazy that I'm saying this is an A, right? But I am just all over the place. Like, I love vomiting my hand with creatures. It is dealing damage. It is making tokens. Yes, it is a 3-mana 2/2, right? Burgie is a 3-mana 3/3, and there's probably other cards that can be better, right? But with like the Lord that exists now, the Herald that ends it out or whatever, and with this, and I'm all over the place with this card. I love this. I'm putting this as an A. You can have your own different opinions, but Geoff, what are your thoughts?
No, I'm actually right there with you, right? Because it does, again, exactly what the Eldrazi decks wanted, and that is put pressure on your opponent. Yeah, I would really have liked to see this as either a 3/2 or a 2/3.
I agree.
To give it a little bit more board presence. But you can easily make it larger if you're able to play that turn 1 Eldrazi Lord or the Colorless Lord, right?
Yep.
Which the Colorless Lord just starts making your 0/1s into 1/2s because they're colorless, right?
Yep.
So this gives you the availability to do a go wide strategy, and it kind of provides a pseudo cost reduction on everything that you play. So even if you pay 2 mana, for your Thought-Knot Seer, you're gonna make something. You're gonna ping your opponent, and you're still, you still have that 1 mana available to be able to play something else, right? So this gives you the ability to like double cast in a single turn and ping your opponent for 2. And we all know that a lot of matches come down to those very few life points. Like, how can I get around? And this gives you reach. I think you're right on an A.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem putting this in the 3 slot. You're just competing with Matter Reshaper. So which one's going to be, more effective in that? And both builds maybe you just play both and you drop some more of your expensive top end stuff.
I love Matter Reshaper and I love all the amazing flips it's ever done in my life. But with the power level of Magic cards that are getting stronger and stronger, and Exile getting more relevant with like Binding, Solitude, and all that stuff, I'm more and more enough. Matter Reshaper keeps chumping rather than right. I'm glad that it's a 3-mana 3/2, right? But these days, people are casting 5-mana 2-mana 5/5s, right? People are casting 4/4 Scions with like a million abilities, and like Matter Reshaper is just not cutting it enough for me. If Matter Reshaper was printed in Fire design these days, it would be a 2-mana 3, but it's a 3-mana 2.
100% would be. 100% would be. And you heard it here first. Mr. Lee here is saying, cut your Matter Reshapers, get rid of them, put them back in the binder. We're going to be playing the Glaring Flesh Raker over that all the time now.
Yep. I agree. And I'm going to be that janky enough. I'm going to somehow try to make this work with the Primal Prayers deck and just start, literally start bouncing and bouncing other creatures and cards because it's 3 and less. And now that we have a Lurin in Modern, I'm going to be doing so much silly stuff.
Perfect.
I'm putting this in it's a low A, and I feel like it's got potential.
I think it's got potential. I think it's not going to go any higher than that A slot.
Yep.
But I think it's very solid in the A. I think you just switch it out. It gives you the advantage to get some of that reach where you might not have been able to before.
Yeah, I mean, now that we have Ugin's Labyrinth, potentially I can see the Eldrazi deck getting faster, but I just don't think Eldrazi can be that fast anymore. I think Eldrazi decks in Modern have to be, I am the bigger creature deck. I'm not like doing I've Ugin Eldrazi Winter style of plays, right? Like, you're not doing like, I'm going to just cast 6 creatures turn overrun you. It's, I am the bigger deck. I'm the bigger, taller person that's going to overwhelm you in the long rather than I'm going fast, right? Because that's what Eldrazi Winter was. If you didn't exist for Eldrazi Winter, it was just like you have the most broken starts and you just win from it. That's not how
where you
Eldrazi
cast 3 Eldrazi Mimics and then a Thought-Knot Seer and then you just like hit you for 12.
Yeah, right. That was some wild time. I was playing Green Tron in the back. Funny enough, the best deck against Eldrazi Winter was El and Infect.
Any type of like cheaper, faster combo deck would get around him, and Elfball was perfect for it.
Yep. We've seen this card before. This is Ugin's Binding. This is just a regular version. If other extended art is better, but that's just me.
Extended art's definitely better.
What is this card? Go and read this one.
Unfathomable Truths. See, you said read this one because you couldn't. Unfathomable Truths. It's 4 and a blue. Instant. It's a common. Devoid, draw 3 cards and create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token with sacrifice this creature out of color. It is 5 mana instant, draw 3 cards and make a dork. Boo, boo, boo. It's not.
Bro, I would love this in limited. I'll be happily draw 3 instant speed for 5 mana in limited all day. Like, I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can do that and make a blocker, right?
Yep.
I guess is about the best case scenario, whether like you screw up their combo math and you get a crackback for lethal.
Yep.
But aside from limited, like, you're never going to be playing multiples of it because it's 5. You get 1, maybe 2 if you really feel the need that you need the extra card draw.
Right.
But yeah, it's just in the D pile. I'm not touching it for any constructed.
I might be janky and silly, and I might play this in my 7-point deck just because I want to draw cards, and I have lots of mana in my Tolarian Academy deck. Because like Soul Ring is a thing in 7-point, right? Which is a singleton easy card format. So, this one. This is the second last card in our set review here. I'm going to go ahead and try to read this, but I can't pronounce the words. Hirigast, Erupting Nullkite, a 9 mana 6/6 Eldrazi Dragon. Hilarious. We're extending all the way. It's a 9 mana 6/6 dragon, Eldrazi Dragon that has emerged for double red and 6. All right, so you can sack your Mana Reshaper, you can sack your Thought Knot, you can sack your Reality Smasher post combat, and it reads: when you cast this spell, you may exile your hand. Oh, that's awkward. If you do, draw 3 cards. It's a cast trigger, again, and that's how Eldrazi roll. And it has flying, so it's a 9 mana 6/6 with flying with the cast trigger. And then it says, each creature spell you cast has emerged. The emerge cost is equal to its mana cost. So I think the last set of text here that says each creature you have has emerged is the most interesting part of this whole card, right? It's a 9 mana flying Eldrazi, which is kind of rare. You don't see that much in Eldrazi, right? But it is 9 mana. But it does have emerge. You know, Merge is also 8 mana, by the way, not 9. But I don't know. It's a mythic, so it's probably a chase card, or you're going to get this in your random burst and go, what do I do with this? And probably try to sell it back to the store straight away if you don't play Eldrazi. But for me, I don't know where this sits, to be honest. I can say a B, maybe? I don't know. Jeff, what do you think?
I think this is a perfect example of people are going to be split on this card. Because they're either going to be like, that's trash and unplayable, or they're going to be like, it's extremely good and you should be playing all of them. This would be one of those cards where I would just slot right into green-red Eldrazi.
Yep.
Because you have since that deck's been around, now we have Ignoble Hierarch, right? Which is the Jund version of Noble Hierarch.
Yep.
And if you're playing green-red, now you got access to red instead of your Bant color. And I think that the fact that it's a flying 6/6 is fantastic, right? Flying 6/6, I think the emerge is great. I think you're going to cast this when you don't have any cards in your hand or cards that you care about in your hand anyhow.
Yeah, right.
So it just says cast this for, what is that, 8? So 6 or less. And then draw 3 cards. I think this thing's going to be an all-star. I think it's going to be an all-star in your aggro decks, but other than that, that's where it's going to stick. So I'd put this right now. I'm calling him an overstep. I'm going to put it in an A.
Oh wow, A?
Yeah, I'm going to put it in an A. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic where it sits.
What are you emerging, and what are you emerging in green red if you're playing this?
So you can emerge it down to, let's see, Hierarch, you can emerge it down to 7, right?
Yep,
which is doable. It's not great, but it'll be late game enough to where it won't really matter.
Yep.
You can emerge, your 3-cost one that gives you your Scion token, right? That's going to drop you right down to 5, which is more than doable. Even if the double red might be a little iffy.
Yep.
But the main thing about it is it blocks your big flyers, your Scion of Dracos, stuff like that.
Yep.
And it draws 3 cards. It doesn't say exile, the top 3 cards and you can play them until next turn, which is a big thing that red usually does.
Yeah, right. It just draws you 3.
It just draws you 3 cards. And when you're in these games where cards matter as much as life total,
yeah, right.
Drawing 3 cards, I think that's going to be the thing that turns things around. I mean, that's, you look at some of these other cards like Kavu, right? Its power isn't that it's a 5/5. Its power is that it gets to draw and discard every turn. That's where its power lies, because it allows you to dig.
Yeah, a lot of
it has a lot of text.
Right.
So
I'm willing to be proven wrong. I will put this in A, all right, and I'll change this on the tier list. But I'm willing to be proven wrong because I want to see more dragons. No, but like, okay, it draws cards. It's a big threat. It has alternative cast modes, right? It is either 9 or it's just 6. Oh, sorry, 9 or 8. And then you can reduce it. And then the last line, that could probably be relevant for people that are smarter than. But I'm willing to put this at an A and willing to be proven wrong that it performed. Yep.
Oh, you know what? I actually just thought about this. You can, if you emerge this down, for 5 mana, let's say, right?
Yep.
And then each creature spell you cast has emerge. You could just pay 1 mana for an Ulamog after this hits the board because you can just emerge this right into an Ulamog.
Whoa. Okay. So you play a Smasher.
It's 100% nay. 100% nay.
Yeah. So you play a Smasher.
Because if you emerge anything off of this, you're probably going to win the game.
Right. So you play a Smasher, and you've just attacked for the turn, all right? So then you untap, and you have your double red because you're playing Grove of the Burn Willows. You sack your
and
Smasher.
Ignoble Hierarch, yeah.
Yeah, and Ignoble Hierarch, right? You've sacked your Smasher, and how much do you pay for it? So it's like 7, so you pay 3?
So you'll pay 3. You'll pay 2 red and a colorless.
Right. And yeah, so you can pay 3 easily because you've already cast a Smasher. You sack this comes into play, and then you just pay the extra mana from casting the Smasher earlier to emerge this into an Ulamog.
Yeah, so you're gonna draw 3 cards and cast an Ulamog for 4 mana.
Exile your hand as well. But you have to draw the Ulamog.
Sure, draw the Ulamog. I mean, you're playing threats, right? So
I got all right. Ready? No, you don't need to draw the Ulamog. It's under the Ugin's Labyrinth.
oh, wow! Done.
Right.
Solid A, might be S, but definitely a solid A. I think the last line where everybody's gonna overlook that, it's like, oh yeah, cool, like everything has emerged. And they're forgetting about the fact that you can just cast, I mean, let's take a look here. Let's take a realistic look. Yeah. If you have 5 mana available, right? Yeah. Or say you have 6 mana available.
Yeah. Because you just cast a Smasher turn previous, yep.
So you have 6 plus 5, so you have 11 mana, which is not unheard of in these, these big style mana decks where you get to play Ugin's Labyrinths and Eldrazi Temples and everything else. If you have 6 mana, it is reasonable, absolutely reasonable to cast this, right, with your, or 11 mana. You cast this with your 5 mana
Smasher
off of your Smasher, right?
Yep.
And then if you have 6 mana available, like, you just emerge this into Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn. Like,
oh, right. Because you're saying that, right? But you need double red. That's the only hardest part. If it was single red, it'll be Ed, right?
Well, the old list we're playing Noble Hierarch, right, which gives you access to green mana, white and blue, right? But since then we've gotten Ignoble, which gives you the access to
you also
red.
Have Grove, right? So, Grove is also a thing.
And you have Groves, right? Yep. So I think it's way easier now to play some of these double red cards, or the red cards in general, because you didn't need to rely on Grove of the Burn Willows to get you the red. I think that you can use your mana dorks on turn 1 to do so if they stick around. But I think the upside potential of especially hiding something under Ugin's Labyrinth, I think that's going to be crazy and disgusting.
You can literally also hide this under Ugin's Labyrinth as well for later.
Yep.
Now the other thing as well is that now that we have Ugin's Labyrinth, you can pay 2 mana to cast what's it? The Gruul Signet? The the Gruul Pain. It's a 2 mana rock. It adds
the 2 mana mana rock. Yeah.
It's red or green, or you pay 1 life for the red or green, or you can task for colorless. So you can go Ugin Labyrinth, play that, turn 2, Thought Not, all right, and then eventually move.
It seems perfectly fine.
I can see there's a deck variable. I can see this is an A now. I can be proven wrong, and thank you for doing that. But yeah, you're right. I feel like Gruul isn't represented enough in each of the constructed formats that exist, like Modern, Pioneer. I mean, Pioneer, there is a Gruul deck, right? But the Gruul isn't represented enough, and I feel like this card could help Eldrazi Gruul exist, right? Gruul was also one of my first decks. Shout out to Red Green One. All right.
Right.
We are on to our very last card. I don't know if it's going to be good or not. The system is just picking the cards as they go. We're on to our very last card before we wrap up on this set review. Let's go ahead and reveal it. It is... it's the regular version.
It's the regular art version of it that heralds the end.
And ironically, it's the end of the stream here, so it's got it heralds the end.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
And this is the end of the stream. But this is the regular artwork. I think I still prefer the retro version. But alrighty. Apart from that, overall, I would love to hear your overall thoughts about all the Eldrazi cards that have been printed in Modern Horizons, Jeff. Let me hear it.
I think that the set it's going to be a really good boon to Eldrazi as a creature deck because it's fallen off so much. So I think we're really going to see a big rise back into that. And I think, initial push because we have all these new cards and everybody wants to play with them.
Yep.
I think there's going to be something that sticks around because it's actually competitive, which I'm super excited about because it's had its issues staying at that competitive, tier 1, tier 2 place for a little bit here. And I think this is exactly what we need. We need to fill more utility spots into it and give us some good threats. On the other side of it is we got some really powerful things that we can do, between the Cyclonic Rifts and now we got a Soul Land and Once Upon a Time stapled to a body. Like there's all kinds of things that we can do. And I think it's really going to open up a number of different things that lines and deck styles and deck choices that we can do between, a few different colors, which we don't normally have before. So it's going to be really great. I love most of this set, and I did the pre-release last night, and it was a blast to play.
Yeah, nice.
I think it's great.
I also appreciate that you're going to go ahead and quit your job and go get a job at WotC, and then get into the BNR team, and then unban Uai Vugan, and then leave the company. So I appreciate you doing that, Jeff. I know that you're on that track to finish that by end of year. So thank you. No, I'm just kidding. But apart from that, I am super hyped. I'm excited. The next stream that I'm going to do with Jeff in time when we get some free time is we're going to go ahead and review the last 20 cards of the Commander Eldrazi cards that are out. That should take really short next time we have some time to do it together. But apart from that,
how long have we done this so far?
It's been a while. We've been going for 3.5 hours.
It's been 3.5 hours.
Right,
Booyah. Let's go.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a long time, but I appreciate you going through with me for all 80 cards that I handpicked that I felt like is relevant to the Eldrazi decks. But apart from that, I am so hyped. I'm excited to play it in Modern, in Legacy, in all the formats. Legacy even gets even better because we have Eldrazi Kindred cards. We have like the tribal cards that help Kozilek's Kozilek's Confluence, right? And a lot of exciting cards, but we'll do that in the next video. But apart from that, everyone, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining today, Jeff. I appreciate it. And it's been amazing. So
it's been a blast. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's awesome and awesome. I hope you guys, if you are watching from YouTube, click the subscribe button. Subscribing helps me support the channel for free, and I'm trying to get all the way up there. If you're watching from Twitch, go ahead and click that follow button. All right. Celestial Richard has redeemed a chat redemption point. On 3, we have to both dab. Okay, 1.
We have to both dab. Okay.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. There we go. All right. But thank you everyone, and everyone have a good night. I'm gonna go ahead and raid you all to another respectable, amazing streamer, and everyone have a good night. See you later.